story.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Group Up podcast. Straight in off the bat, everyone's mid something. I'm mid snack, Boger's mid rant, Flats is mid stream, and Sam's mid PB and J. How is everyone doing? I hope you guys are excited. It is going to be a fantastic day. It is going to be a fantastic time for us. For those who missed out, Overwatch 2 beta is out, and I'm joined by, as I already listed, Flats, Sam, Boger. I'm going to go through them real quick because the first thing I want to ask them about is, guys, first impressions, and I'm going to take it to Flats first. What do you think?
So I made a whole video on this yesterday, but basically there's a few major takeaways. One, obviously, we now no longer are fumbling through the dark on hopium and copium. We have a set line on which we know something is coming, and we will have it in our hands. It's no fake promises. It's this is the date, this is the time. It's right here, this area. It has to be there. There's no more like, we're working on it, we'll get you soon TM, there'll be some updates. No. It has to be there. That's big. There's that gives everyone a goal. That gives everyone, especially in the streaming community and YouTube and stuff like that, because it pertains to us right now. It not only gives us hope, but it gives us a destination. There's no more like, oh my god, I don't know how much longer I can hold on. Like we were talking about before. Ranked is awful. Like it's never like I know we always say this, right? But it genuinely keeps getting worse. It has never been worse. So like every time we say something, it's like, oh, this is the worst it's ever been. It then gets worse, and it becomes the new worst it's ever been. And that's not over exaggeration. That's just the way we've progressed. So we now have a destination, which is number one. And number two, this is the big one, and I know Sam's going to lose it. They took accountability, and they said, listen, we know we fucked up. And you know what it takes for Blizzard to say we fucked up? Brig is still in the fucking game. That shit doesn't happen very easily. For them to come out and say, we fucked up, we're sorry, we are committing now to fixing it right here, right now, means that they have to hold to that, because as a company, they've already admitted that mistake. As a company, if you admit to your mistake and then keep making it, you don't last. So normally when they fuck up and they make a mistake, they just ignore it. Like they're like, nope, didn't do that. Don't know what you're talking about. That was fine. Them acknowledging it and saying it's a big mistake means that they now understand what it's like to compete as a AAA title in today's 2022 games market, and they have to step it up. And hopefully they're making the right choices, and they're hiring more people because they need to have content out faster. They need to have updates out faster to compete. This is them admitting it and making their new pledge to not only the players, but to the world of gamers that we're going to be better.
I really want to elaborate on that as well. Like, I think that's a really important thing you're bringing up, Flats, and I think we should go into that in length. But before we do, I just want to ask quickly, Sam or Boger, if you guys have any sort of first impressions you want to give us, just your gut feeling when you saw the reaction yesterday. Actually, I'm going to go to Boger. Boger,
yeah, go Boger first. Yeah,
you tell me, because you've been, for mysterious reasons, not locked out of the NDA so far.
I'm too handsome.
You're too handsome. This is true. Everyone else would feel grossly inadequate with you there.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, what did you think?
Well, it's exciting. I was actually watching JoJo while one of my friends DM'd me and said, look, Overwatch 2 is coming. And I'm like, whoa, that's wild. But it's exciting because, as Flat said, they actually admitted to their mistakes and they actually gave us a time. It's gone the big mysterious Blizzard time, where they don't tell us anything. They just release stuff randomly into the wild. They actually said next month at the end, April, it's coming, beta, sign up here, which is good first step. And not only that, they actually showed us what's coming, and they just showed us what maps there are going to be played in Overwatch League as well. So they're making a lot of good steps in the right direction, which is really nice. And I'm excited, but not necessarily because it's Overwatch 2, but I'm just excited that they're making changes to the game. I genuinely don't care about Overwatch 2 as a whole. I just care about patches, and I want changes, and I'm excited that they're releasing new heroes. Some people are... I saw some people on Twitter be angry that they're releasing only one hero. I'm like, shut up, just shut up, shut the fuck up. Like, come on, it's been 3 years or 2 years. We have had zero stuff, and you're still angry. Be happy with what you get. And I'm happy with what I'm getting right now. And also, I'm not coping too much because I've had this happen to me with Blizzard games so many times, and until I see it, I will not be completely satisfied. I want to see it actually happen, and like next month or whatever, whenever they said, and then I will admit that Blizzard are improving. But until then, I will always be still critical. It's a little bit
Burnt
critical.
one too many times. Burnt one too many
Yes.
times.
I
Sam,
mean, we have to still be critical. Like, let's.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah. And I wanted to take it to Sam on that note. Sam, what do you think? First
So
thoughts.
it feels very nice to genuinely be complimentary of the leadership team. It's very nice to do that. The accountability from Aaron was great. I think they're looking it in the mirror and they're taking it head on, and that deserves respect. It's nice to actually be able to talk about this now too, because that was a brutal 3 months. Brutal, especially at the state of ranked. Awful. Community transparency is always great. Kind of like Bogur said, I think one thing that's great about this podcast as well is that we've got like 3 other content creators, obviously, aside from our host here. And Bogur somehow is not on NDA, considering this guy's been streaming this game forever. Been in the pro scene before I even was. Like this dude's a Bulgarian chat.
I'm OG.
And I know Andy's
I'm
gonna watch
so
this.
OG.
Andy, please,
I'm
please,
so
Andy.
OG. I've been
Please.
here since day one.
This man is. This
I
man's
have
something else.
zero controversy. I've never been banned in my
Yeah.
life.
I think it would be
Selling
great
it right
to have Bogur on, but yeah, the perspective is great. I think I am generally more critical of them and demand the best than most people, and I think that it's very nice. Obviously, not everything's been told to the community yet for good reason, and I'd like to make a joke after this too. But I all the right things. Now, obviously, the proof still needs to be in the pudding, right? You still need to see the substance. But I was very impressed with how Aaron conducted himself, what he said, what they're delivering on. And while this is just getting back into the race, there's still a marathon to run. But I'm very excited to be wrong about a lot of my opinions based on precedent going forward. That's all I'm going to say. Also, I'd like to make a joke about how OWL players and Contenders players demand to hear things and be told and be in the loop, and then the very next day, anytime they're told anything, it's leaked. So, just super thought. There's a reason why. Like, if I'm Blizzard, I'm sorry. Like, tier 2 community, y'all cannot complain about shit and then leak shit instantly. Like, you just can't.
Too many players in OWL and tier 2, and like it's instantly starts getting leaked between them, and most of them like really young as well. And you can't sign.
We're really
NDA
talking about
with
this today, huh?
Yeah, it's just you can't sign an
This is like
NDA
the
with
unspoken
100
secret.
people. You can't just sign an NDA with everyone. It's like, what? How are they supposed to do that? And like, yeah, it's just.
I think Blizzard's approach to this information was done properly, despite what a lot of people in Allen Tier 2 would say. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't want to open that can of worms, but just
I want
funny.
to steer away. I want to steer away from NDA stuff because I think the community is kind of sick of hearing about NDAs.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this is the one chance I think we have as a community to kind of all be excited about the same thing.
Yep.
So I think for the purpose of this call, let's stick away from NDA stuff. We don't want to have to break NDAs. We don't want to have to talk about it. We want everybody to be psyched about this. And I want to take it back. Flats, maybe you want to elaborate. I want to take it back to the point about communication. Why are you so you're not jumping in joy, but why are you quietly excited about what they said in terms of communication?
Sure. One thing really before I say that, have you DM'd Andy Bogur? If you haven't already, then
I have, of course.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to be sure. Because I saw his tweet. Why am I excited about the communication aspect? Well, let's say this. We were told one time, was it about 2.5 years ago from Jeff, that they were going to start stepping up their communication. But that was the one time we were like seriously told they're going to step it up, right? Like developer update. Not like, in passing, like Jeff's like sitting on stream with Fran or Emog or somebody that was like out there, or Tim when he was doing, Echo or something like that. And they're like, oh yeah, we're trying to step it up, like, I mean, like, no, like serious announcement was then they brought Overwatch 2 to the table. And I think that yesterday kind of really put it out in the air that Overwatch 2 became a massive problem. Now there's a lot of, conspiracies of like what has caused those problems. You know, there's leadership problems all the way up to Bobby of, you know, putting them in different directions, and all of the team couldn't figure out what they were doing. So them decoupling PvE and PvE is now give them an opportunity to not only work on that other project of PvE that they're really excited for, and they want to be kind of their standalone game where you can grind it like WoW or like, you know, and like do raids and dungeons and stuff in Overwatch, but also take care of what their core game is, which is PvP. And they've acknowledged that was like a big problem, and that's probably why, you know, they didn't expect to have to leave the live service game for as long as they did, and that's why they owned up to it as a big thing. And I think that people are going, well, they told us before about communication. They told us before, is a very valid argument. However, though, I do believe it's a little different because they pointed to a time where they talked about it, or they pointed to the time, like the earlier time, and said, hey, we talked about going to Overwatch 2. It took way longer than we thought. There was a lot of problems, and we failed you, right? Like that's kept them kind of acknowledged, like, hey, we know we said this already, but these things happened, and that stuff does happen sometimes, right? Like they really kind of leveled with us. They're like, hey, like we know we fucked up. We will change it though. And I think the next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be key. Now, and mark my words on this, the next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be key because that's when they're going to have to start trickling information. Now, right before we got here, I saw that Overwatch League posted a video, like a community update. And this one seemed a lot better than the first one. The first one was like, I don't know, it just felt like a weird like recap slash like they were talking about like cats or something in the first one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mind memeing and having fun, but like your first ever update in a like for the league in a whole new format and a whole new game in the first year, I felt it was a little bit of a bad time to do that. But this one, apparently, from what I read on the tweet, like really fast because I didn't get to watch the video yet, they talked about like no more 2CP and they talked about all this stuff. So like as we start rolling forward, there should be more updates and more communication, and I bet we'll start to see that in the next couple of weeks before we even get to the beta. And that's the most telling key, because if they start communicating regularly, actually this time for realsies, then they're keeping to that promise, and they're going to be able to hold them to that standard. Because them coming out like they did, admitting their fault, you know, making new pledges to like to the players to trying to be more communicative, trying to have better content, stuff like that, and then failing on it is pretty much dooming their game no matter what. Like people are watching everywhere, whether they're people that now play the game or formerly played the game and are interested in the new game. You know, like people are paying attention, so it's on them now. And I am willing to bet they're gonna follow through.
So I want to take it to Bogur here, because Bogur, you kind of already said, you know, you've been a fan of Blizzard games for a while, and they have made noises in the past about communicating more and doing better. And you said you're kind of skeptical. Is that how you feel about what was said in the video, or are you a bit more inclined to believe that this is marks a change of attitude?
I'm inclined to believe because, as we have mentioned before, a thing they have done that they don't really do is they admit a mistake. Blizzard, like, they admitted the fact that they made a mistake, which is a big step for Blizzard, because Blizzard as a whole rarely admits that they make mistakes. Almost never. I've seen it happen over and over again. The community says one thing, and then Blizzard literally tells them, no, you're wrong, you don't know what you want. Like, this is what happened with WoW Classic. They literally told the community, no, you don't want WoW Classic. And the community is like, what? What do you mean we don't want? And now they actually came up and they said, yeah, we made a mistake and we're going to improve on it. And for the last few days, we've seen them improve on it by showcasing which maps are going to be played in Overwatch League, by showcasing what they're going to be updating, opening up beta signups and a lot of things. The only reason I'm skeptical is because I have done this analogy a lot of times. It's like a bad relationship with a person who keeps telling you things are going to be better, or she or him, they're going to get better, and you're like, you believe them, and then they go and cheat on you again, and you're like, fuck. But then you remember the good times you've had together, and you keep coming back, and because you're just stuck in this endless loop of lies, and it always keeps repeating itself. And every time you hear that lie again and again, you keep remembering all the good times you've had together, so you keep coming back. That's why I'm so skeptical, because for the last few years, it has happened this same thing in a loop where they say they're going to be better and they never actually do anything with it. And that's why I'm skeptical. I'm not skeptical because they made this video or the way they acted. The way they acted was good, and the way they made the video was great, and the way they've responded to criticism was great, and the fact that they are open, like the fact that their community manager said, yeah, DM me, content creator, so I can get you into the beta, and the fact that they open up the beta, and the fact that they clearly communicated what's the plan is good. It's really nice. It's a good step forward. I just want to see it be realized, because Blizzard, as I said, they say they're gonna do something, and then they go silence, and then you're like, "What? What happened? I thought things are gonna get better now." So, that's why I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical because I've been burnt too many times. That's why I'm skeptical.
I think it's good you're skeptical, by the way.
Yes.
You should be.
I think yeah, and I think there's a lot of people who are going to be listening to this who are even more skeptical than we are, because I know there's people out there who are going to say, well, okay, yeah, they say they're going to communicate more, and good, kudos, they acknowledge their mistake. But still, we didn't get that much information. Late April is not a specific date, and we don't know what the exact roadmap is. Only one new hero, despite promising lots more content. So there are some people out there that still feel like it's not been enough communication. Sam, what would you respond to them?
I think there's been enough communication. I think that at this point, with the video coming out, at the end of the day, talk is cheap. At this point, talk changes nothing. Results do, right? So we have a finite date. We have everything talking can achieve done. Let's see the results, right? Because the results are going to be what dictates this game's long-term future. And I'm going to agree with Flats on this one. I think they're going to follow through. And you don't see me 180 often. I think they're going to follow through. So it's going to be, I think you just need to wait and see at this point. We got a month. Let's go.
Okay, so let's speak then what we know in terms of what is supposedly coming. We have the closed alpha right now that the Owl Pros have started playing on. Closed beta in late April, and then multiple beta periods as the year goes on, potentially with a public beta at some point later this year. What do we think of that roadmap? Is that reasonable? Is it fair? Like, why close beta? Why open later? Are you happy with this? And I'm gonna take it to Flats.
Oh yeah, I mean, okay, let's be real with ourselves for like 2 seconds. Overwatch 1 is toast. I mean, it's been toast for a while. Like,
it's not toast. It's burned to a crisp. It's gone. It's gone.
Toaster's on fire. It might take the house next.
My house is on fire. Everything is on fire.
Yeah, it's bad, and I mean, like, it is really bad. And you know what? I felt bad for Shock. Shock put a thing out yesterday saying that he was retiring from Overwatch streaming, and then about an hour later got announced that Overwatch 2 beta is coming out. I was like, that's fucking tough, dude.
Yeah.
Tough.
That tweet was funny.
But I think that's actually a very good talking point to bring up. And Bogur, I know you're gonna relate with this a lot because I've seen some of your frustrations recently. There's a lot of people in Overwatch right now that feel kind of trapped, right? I feel very, very lucky with where I am, and I can kind of play some variety here and there. To be fair, my variety time is basically ruined half the time by Overwatch stands who come in and just demand me to play Overwatch all day long.
Stand, please.
Yeah, they're like, this is a weird looking Reinhardt. I'm like, yeah, well, you look like a weird fucking Shatter. How about that? Like, fuck you, you know?
Can I just say quickly, Frats, I want to quickly interrupt and say, every guy who comes into chat when you're playing a variety game says, this looks like Overwatch 2, or this is a funny new version of Overwatch. Shut up, you're not funny. Everyone says that joke literally every single time. Carry on.
Every single time. It's like, dude, please come up with something original. And it kind of ruins the whole experience for me. And actually, I even talked about it recently because a lot of people who like my core chat love my variety time. It honestly creates, every time my chat has any in-chat memes or anything, it's always from variety. So they enjoy it a lot. But I've actually kind of decided when Overwatch 2 comes out to do less variety, just because I want to grow my channel a lot. I'm a very motivated individual. I'm someone who wants to like really pursue a lot of things. And I didn't really have a whole lot of time in the Overwatch sun. Like when I first became an Overwatch streamer, the game was only alive for about 6 months, give or take. I started in March of 2020. Echo came out in April of 2020. It lasted about 6 months after that. And then things kind of started to, go downhill pretty fast. So I kind of just ran into brick walls over and over, and that frustrated me a ton. That being said, I could probably play some variety and do okay and not have to worry about, as many things. Yeah, I have like student loans and stuff like that, which would suck. But like, I'm pretty like decently comfortable with where I am. I'm very, very lucky, but there's not everyone that is like that. And Overwatch is their job. It's what they have to play, and they're stuck. And there's many people that like that they have to play Overwatch either every day or a couple times a week because that is their job, and they are miserable and they're not having a good time. And it's like I don't like. I hate to say it, like, because people always go like, "Oh, you play video games for a living, like it's not that hard." You have no fucking clue what that does up here over time when you are forced into the same thing over and over and over, and you have no choice, and it's destroying you mentally. It's fucking awful. So what I love about this whole beta thing, and which I'm assuming there's no shot it's not going to work like that because it's going to be a beta that people sign up for. They're never going to be able to police it. We're going to be able to stream Overwatch 2 when it comes out on beta. That's the hope because, I mean, like, you know, people are signing up for it. There's no way, like, you're not going to be allowed to stream it. That makes no sense. So even if we're in betas and we have multiple betas, we have something to hold on to. We have stuff to make content with, and there's going to be a lot of excitement around the game. So, like, everyone that's here right now and makes content should theoretically see a massive upswing in viewership and content and subs and everything. Like, your life gets easier. And like, I can't tell you how much that means to myself and other people that you've struggled for the last 2 years and it's okay. We're going to make it. You know what I mean? Like, mentally, what that means to not only myself, but other content creators is unbelievable. So yes, I'm very happy that we're getting betas. And I don't care, like, I do care obviously a little bit, but like, if a game comes out in late this year because they want to do a few more betas to like test some things out, introduce some new heroes, start tweaking some things before they fully release the game, that's fine. I'm cool with that because I have something to play and I have something to hold on to, some content to make, some excitement. I want to put it in perspective really fast. And now people say, like, you know, the people on Twitch, the rich get richer, right? If you're at the top of the directory, you get the most followers per day because most people come in, they click on the top streams, right? I'm not at the top, but like in current day Overwatch, right? During the day, there's like ML on, Emong, J3, Sam, you're on, but your YouTube's in the morning. You do Twitch at night. Like it depends on like who's on in the morning, but like, you know, like Super's typically a night streamer and stuff like that. So I'll be like somewhere around like the top 10-ish. I will tell you my followers per day number is pathetic than what it was a year or 2 years ago when I was a maybe 100 average viewer streamer. And I looked back at my old YouTube videos from like May, June, July of 2020. I was getting 400 to 500 followers a day as a 100 viewer Andy. I get for a like 8-hour stream with like an average between like 600 to 900 viewers. If ML gets off, Jay gets off, any host, like we can go maybe push the 1,000 number, maybe about 130 to 150 on a very good day. It's typically around 100 to 130. That is like abysmal in comparison to like, you know, what it was at one point. And that isn't just me, that's everybody. And I've talked to other streamers and we're all feeling it. We're all not doing well.
There's no
like
content.
That growth. There's no content. There's no
Yeah,
reason
it's like
for
that's
people
just
to
not
come.
how it works. Yeah.
I mean, that's how I spectated bronzes. I pulled that out of my ass because I didn't want to play the game.
Dude, that was me with hacker hunts, dude. Like
Yeah.
those are the funny story. The only 2 or 3 like new series that came up in Overwatch that did well on YouTube was my hacker hunt, you're spectating bronze, and I think Jane's Guess My SR were like the 3 posts like anything that like used replays or viewing content. So like props to you. Props to you.
Thank you. I mean, mentally it started to destroy me because people started to take over my shit. Like, I want to see this. I want to see this. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to play some ranked, man. Leave me alone.
Oh, yeah.
But like, you know, Emong does achievements. You know, like we do like the custom games, which are, by the way, we need to do more of those. And people loved it. People thought were so fun. There were a few Papagas, but like I think I showed you that. That was funny. But regardless, so like we have to like, create our own content. We're fucking content magicians. Like, imagine if we actually have content. Dude, we're gonna be brewing some crazy shit if we actually have content to work with. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know I'm ranting a little bit at this point, but
yeah,
you know,
I mean,
we're all gonna have a chance.
Yeah, and you know, I think you can tell just from that the years of beat up, repressed, you know, emotion there from Flats. But what about and that's I think it's great to hear from what it's like from us as content creators. But what about for your average player, Bogur? Like this roadmap for someone who, let's say, you know, just plays Overwatch fairly regularly, enjoys the game, and is really excited to get in. What do you think that someone like that feels?
I mean, definitely excitement because you get new content, but I personally just want to talk more about content creation because, you know, Flats talked about it, and I want to talk about it in a different perspective. I want to dig deeper into like what it's like streaming Overwatch for so long and have nothing. Like in the sense that at first when you stream the game and you play and you start growing your stream, you see improvement for your numbers and followers, and it's joyful and it's amazing experience because it's exciting. But for the last 2 years or so, I feel like kind of I've wasted my time. Like I don't know how to say it, but it is so depressing to keep streaming the same game because I don't stream it as much now, but when I did, trying to get back and keep growing, but like no matter how much you push, you can never break through the wall because nobody is really interested in watching Overwatch. The viewership is so low, and always thinking about some artificial numbers that just don't mean anything. It just doesn't matter at the end of the day. And it's so depressing. And I've come to the conclusion, it's so depressing because we don't get the content, and we've said it so many times, and we are forced to redo the same boring content over and over again. Like so many streamers would like props to Flats and Sam for making new content, but like maybe I don't have the time to go and invest because to create new content because I have university to deal with, and I have to recycle if I want to. I don't want to do that anymore. It's so mind-numbingly boring. But let's do another unranked to GM, guys. Let's go! How many times can I do the same old unranked to GM?
It's the only thing that people watch.
And I press
It
and I
pisses me off.
stream it, and I get way more viewers because people are so excited to watch it. It's just so boring in a creative level. It's so infuriating boring to keep doing the same thing over and over again and get rewarded for not being creative, but for your lack of creativity. And it just really depresses me because at the end of the day, I didn't start streaming because I wanted to be this boring individual who sits on their PC for 8 hours a day doing something they hate. Because my streaming job, for streaming Overwatch specifically, has turned from this magical experience of me interacting with people and playing the game I love to this 8-hour grind a day in a little cubicle which I call my apartment with zero social interactions. And it's so depressing and it's so unfulfilling. That's why people are so excited, especially streamers right now, because many of the streamers that haven't quit, they're still here because of their hopes and dreams of growing, finally breaking through that brick wall and finally achieving something when Overwatch 2 releases. Because right now it can't happen. You don't have the player influx. I am pretty sure that we just have like 25,000 maximum viewership on the Overwatch category. Like we have a hard cap on how many people actually care about Overwatch. Yeah, and I'm fairly small compared to you guys, and if I have like ML streaming and Samito and Flats and other people, I barely get any viewers because there's not enough viewership to go around. There's not enough people, and it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's just the fault that the game is so infuriating. There's no content. I click on any Overwatch streamer all time, I just see depression in their eyes. It is so depressing every single time. Yep. It is the same ranked experience of someone sitting in game and clicking and hating their life. So infuriating for me and for them, because you guys are cool people, you're amazing people, and you're content magicians, as I said, and seeing all of this talent being buried alive because there's no content was so infuriating. That's why so many people were excited for Overwatch 2, because they can finally put their creativity to use and create something new. So yes, content creators are excited and normal players are excited, because normal players, the average player, the average Andy, they don't play Overwatch because there's nothing new. Yep. If I mention I go outside and I talk to someone in a bar and they ask me, what's your job? And I say, I'm a streamer. Oh, cool. What game? Overwatch. Isn't that game dead? I die inside. My heart sinks in, realizing that I've been playing a dead game for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years of my life. And for everyone else, it's just a dead game. And it's not even conversation started. They ask me, okay, did they change anything? And I have to say, with a straight face, there has been 0 changes since Echo. And it's so depressing. And that is the conversation every time.
They think you're crazy, and they're like,
yes. Yeah. It's just, I despise that. The fact that I can't. I'm sorry. I'll just finish my thought. The fact that I can't even talk about the game that is my job without feeling infuriated and angry is so depressing. But the fact that Overwatch 2 is coming out finally, beta at least, and there's gonna be finally something new, brings new hope to all of us. You know, it brings hope. It's like ambition. It's like the developers came down from heaven and gave us, you know, hope finally. And they're like, listen, content creators, your cries have been heard. We are here to bless you. And that's why I'm skeptical, because I don't want to get really, really burnt again for one last time. But I am hopeful, and I agree. From the bottom of my heart, I agree with Flats and Samito that things will get better. I really agree, and I really believe it. But I still have doubt in me, because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
So what I was gonna say is, you know, I'm allowing the content creator catharsis, the rant stream here for a moment, because I know, of course I know, all of us know in this call, the nightmare that we've kind of lived through. But as the host, I have to acknowledge what I know, that there's a section of people who are gonna be saying, which will be like, well, cry me a river, bro, cry me a river. You know,
you don't want to play that game though, because we actually speak on a lot of the issues that you also feel. So we play the Cry Me a River game. I'm telling you, one of us is gonna win. Like,
I'm gonna have an argument with I'm gonna have an argument myself here, because I know what people are gonna say. They're gonna say, "Well, yeah, you feel trapped in a shit job. Welcome to my life. This is my dead end job." What I would say to that is,
you don't demand better for yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. That. Yeah, and it's shit for you, it's shit for us too, and this is the kind of stuff that people protest about, and these are entire political elections are won on, you know, an industry collapsing, and you know, a politician promising to save that industry or whatever.
I really hate when I say that it's really shit for me the way things are, and somebody says, well, I work a normal job and it's shit for me. Just because your life is shit doesn't mean my life has to be shit as well. Shut the fuck up. Fuck me sideways. Why does everyone have to swim in shit because you hate your life? You dumb fuck. Fuck me sideways. If I hate what I'm doing and I feel proud and I'm expressing it on my stream, the Twitch link is on top. You can change it at any time. Why the fuck do you come to my stream to tell me to shut the fuck up when it's my stream in the first place? You don't have to listen to me. You don't have to.
Bogur, imagine. What do you mean, man? I come into your home and you have to listen to Miko tell you to cry river. What do you mean, man? Like, nah, but you guys are the nail on the head. Like, it's just
everyone always thinks that I want to hear their opinion. I don't want to hear your opinion. I want to express myself. That's my.
How dare you express yourself on your own stream, man?
I want your opinion. I'll ask you about it. But if you come in here just to shit on what I'm doing, how I'm playing, where I'm playing, what hero I'm playing, what game I'm playing, how much I'm streaming, what time I'm streaming, what music I'm listening to, the volume of my music, shut the fuck up. I don't care about you. Yeah. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about your opinion. I hate you. I despise you just because you hate yourself.
The worst part is like you can express a lot of those things like super nicely. Like, you know what I mean? Like for example, the music volumes. Like, hey, like, you know, I can't really hear you too well. The music's kind of loud. Is that intended, or is it like, you know, like they're kind of like hinting like, hey, like I'm having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if that's on purpose. Then you could go like, yeah, no, I want it loud. And then they're like, all right, fuck it. And then they fuck off and go somewhere else. Instead they're like,
oh, he muted his mic.
For those who are listening to this in podcast form, Flats is going off with the mic muted.
Your mic just muted, Flats.
I don't know if he slammed his desk so hard.
You slammed your desk so hard, your mic muted. We couldn't hear shit, but I saw you screaming.
It was beautiful in its own way.
It was beautiful
in its own way.
Beautiful.
It was always intentional.
I thought it was intentional. I thought it was intentional.
Well done. Let me say this. I firmly believe in there's only one stereotype in life that I believe in, right? And it's that certain people who play certain Overwatch heroes tend to have similar behavior patterns.
Yes.
That was the most Rhine shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, the way you guys were just like slamming, like, is going on. That was some people who play fucking Reinhardt.
This is some star sign shit. We need to Overwatch astrology.
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh god! No, we don't. No, we don't. Oh god! I don't have to learn this shit again. Apparently, I'm the villain in astrology, so I'm just gonna have to embrace it, I guess.
So I want to bring it back. Now, you know, we've had a good rant, and I appreciate that, and we've had our frustrations out. But I did want to bring it back to the original question about what do you think this means? This roadmap for the current community, the people who've been like us, been starving and looking for that hopium.
I think it's just consistent content. It's us getting back in the starting line, right? So like obviously people, your average consumer, if a product's not being updated, they're not gonna give a shit, right? Like it looks like if the leadership look like they don't give a shit because they're not updating the game, why should the player base care, right? That's like what it means to lead. And if you as a leader don't care, Bobby Kotick, right? This is what fucking happens, right? This is what fucking happens. Taking home over $100 million a year, that all better get clawed back. That's ridiculous. But no, it's just consistent content. It's a roadmap. It's getting us back in the race. Like we've been on the sideline for 2 years. Kind of to add on what Flats and Bogur were talking about in terms of content, like, you know, even for your average player, like viewing content, like for me as well, like I want to bring this number point back up, SVB, because I think it is important. Like coming off of 2020, like May of 2020 was like the best to even May 2020 to May 2021 was like the best I've ever done on YouTube, right? Like, but especially in May of 2020 when like right after Echo had come out and the game was still fresh. I think I got like 15,000, 20,000 subs that month or something. I was getting 2 million views a month, like easily, like with streams and video, like 50K plus views a video. And then all of a sudden, like we're trying to scrape up the bottom of the barrel. Like we get to October, December, and then it's just like, shit, this is starting to get harder and harder. And then now we're like rowing our little boat through like a muddy swamp. Just like, and I feel like that feeling for us, cement, that's probably it. You're right. That's probably better. We're like cement that eventually is just gonna become rock hard. And I think that fluidity and the lack of resistance when rowing the boat is kind of what it feels like to be your average player. Because if like because I believe firmly in ecosystems in this industry, right? The more that a game creates, the more content creators can make. The more content creators make, the more people are interested in the game and want to put their heart and soul into the game because they see these figureheads of the community trying hard, wanting to win, enjoying the game, making content. And it's just it's like a cycle of life almost, I think is the best way to put it. But when the heartbeat stops from the creation standpoint, we use Jeff Kaplan's terminology, that entire cycle of life for the game is broken and it feels terrible for the players more than anyone. Like obviously content creators have it hard, but like it really starts to backlog for the average player and then they just quit and then eventually you just slowly die. So I think that cycle of life and that feeling of just progression is going to be back for the player base and it's just going to feel better overall. Because now we know, like, I think it's safe to say at this point, the dark ages, now there could be more down the line. Like I'm still unsure about like the long-term success of Overwatch 2, because there's still everything to be proven. But at least in the shorter term going forward, that heartbeat has come back. And I think eventually you'll start to see the player base come back as well and enjoy that.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Flats.
And I know Sam knows the answer, so I kind of want to like lob it up to him. Overwatch used to have a lot of heartbeats. Remember back in the day, there was tons. There was Moo Moo, there was XQC, there was Seagull. There was a lot of things, right? And I think one of the things you just made a good point of is we actually don't have anyone kind of like that anymore, except maybe Super. I think Super's probably the last one who's like both a pro and a content creator and something most people can look at and they have a goal. And like, right, like why, and this is the question I actually kind of posed with Emong one time. Or actually, he posed it to me more or less, what we were just talking about. Why do people play Overwatch right now? Like if you're a GM player, right? Like you know, like when we just queue up the ladder, right? Our games, like, so we used to have tank queues are like 30 seconds, right? They've actually gotten like 7 or 8 minutes now.
Yeah, same.
And I don't think it's because there's a lot of tank players queuing. I think it's the opposite. I think everything else has come down. Why would people queue Overwatch and be good at Overwatch right now?
There's no reason.
There isn't, because there's no tier 2 anymore because the whole Overwatch League like moving over, which means there's also no tier 3. There's no open division. There's probably not really teams scrimming. There's probably not even many teams at this point. I think that the experimental tournament was nice. I know Monkey Bubble did their women empowerment tournament, which was awesome. You know, it was like they had lots of like it's the community is kind of like pushing these, but like why does a player play the game right now? There's the people who maybe just play with friends, right, once in a while, but those are very casual. There's the players that just solo queues, they don't play anything else. Like that's just Overwatch is their game and they're holding on for dear life. And there's typically people that wanted to get good at the game because they wanted to be the next pro. They wanted to be the next content creator. They wanted to be like when I was first getting into Overwatch, the first Twitch streamer I ever watched and ever like was like, holy shit, I like this guy was XQC at first Overwatch, like before he even got into Overwatch League, because I had swapped over to Overwatch and I was starting to watch like pros and stuff like that, and I was like, oh, like what is this game like? Like what does this game look like to good players? Because I was GM on console, but I was a former Siege pro. My controller skills was just unbelievable, so I just mechanicked my way to GM on console because it's a very different environment. You know what I mean? Like, there's no like super pro strats or anything like that. I literally just out mechanicked people, and I was like, when I got to PC, I ran into a wall, and I was like, holy shit, this game is hard. And that's when I started like watching content. That's like I started watching Jane because Jane was just starting his come up when like he started doing like the the reviews and stuff like that, and I started watching those like crazy, and those all ballooned to a couple million views at the time. But I watched the shit out of like tons of stuff to like start to learn. And I remember watching some XQC because he was a content creator and a pro and was amazingly good at the game. I was like, holy shit, I'd love to be like kind of like that guy, and like get really good at the game and also like have a good stream and stuff like that. And then obviously over time, like there was still more. Like Seagull was one. Like there was people that everyone looked to in the Overwatch community that would stream and play games all the time, and you always had someone to watch, you always had someone to tune into, and everyone had someone they could relate to.
Yeah.
Right now, there's not many. You know what I mean?
You want to know why I think that is?
Why is that?
This might be a curve. This might be a curveball. It's because the skill to reward curve in the game is broken. Because what used to give value in Overwatch was proactive plays, big players making big plays, right? But when that gets cut off, this is kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg conversation, right? When that gets cut off with heroes like Brig or Rissa Sigma being changed the way they are, where you just kind of exist on the heroes, the good players like the XQCs, Super sticks with it. Good on him. That dude's he quite literally is super because that's what he does is incredible. Who else? Like even Seagull, like you have all these like guys coming back at least in 2020 and saying the game was great because you had to be proactive to get rewarded. There wasn't a hero that rewarded you for just existing passively like Brigitte that was like super strong and played consistently. So when you get that into the game, those swing streamers like XQC and like Tim and like a lot of these other people who used to have these pop-off moments that Silosa talked about, SVB, on the last episode, now those pop-off moments are worth jack shit. And the mid-fight of the game is compromised. So like why, and this is what I've said since I was in Contenders, the way that we designed Overwatch 1 directly went against Overwatch League success, Contender success, everything, because the heroes that we designed and the comps that we got put in the game crunched the skill floor and the skill ceiling together. And when you do that, your product loses its longevity. So why would a streamer, especially a high-level player, when games like Valorant are coming out, games like Apex are coming out, games like Warzone are coming out, which are all fun games. They're all great, fun games that have reward curves that actually get you your time back. And I said this in the last podcast too. The most valuable thing to your average consumer and human being, it's not money, it's time. And when you break your skill to reward curve with unfun mechanics and heroes that reward you for nothing, you're wasting a consumer's time. And they're going to realize that and say, my time is better put elsewhere. And slowly but surely what's going to happen is you're going to lose the soul of your product, which is what happened. That's why all those guys don't play. That's why your tank queues are 8 minutes, XQC's queuing 30 minutes just for a double shield game and logs off. He wants to play Winston. He wants to play Reinhardt.
That was
so why
sad.
can Brig just exist? And I know people in low ranks don't deal with this, but that's the big core issue. I don't want to ramble, but go ahead, SVB.
Hey guys, SVB here. Just going to quickly interrupt this episode of the Group Up podcast to say that if you're enjoying this content, then please do consider signing up for my Patreon to support me directly. It's really amazing because it allows me to keep making content like this carefree, regardless of how many views Overwatch does or doesn't get. I know no one likes sellout ads, but chances are if you've listened until this far in, then you're at least somewhat enjoying the content. So please do consider at least leaving a like, subscribe, and a comment underneath the video on YouTube. It really does help. But that's it for me. Now back to the discussion. No. So here's my question. I got two kind of related questions. One is, from whatever we've seen of the Overwatch 2 5v5, and the pros will probably have their opinions now that they can't tell us for a bit, but we've kind of seen some glimpses of it, a bit more fraggy, a bit more deathmatchy. I think Space was it who described it as it feels like COD. First question, will that shift to a more deathmatchy, fraggy, individualistic style of game help bring back those pop-off moments that you're talking about, Sam, and help bring back those players who feel individually empowered? And two, will this current roadmap that we've got, closed beta, or closed alpha, closed beta, open beta, and the gradual release of heroes, Sojourn now, a few maps now, will that bring the casual player in? So the two ends, will it bring those players in, do you think, what we're getting currently? I'm going to take it
Oh, go ahead.
Bogur
Yeah,
first,
sorry.
because Bogur hasn't spoken in a while.
I think that they are headed for a more deathmatchy feel for sure, and I think the fact that there's only one tank now, kind of like, how do I say it? A lot of the comps in this game are revolved not around supports necessarily or DPS. It's always around the two tanks. Like the tanks are really strong in their own way. Yes, playing main tank is really bad. It feels really bad, but off tank I would say is probably the strongest and the most. It has the most carry potential. Like off tank is crazy, and the main tank and the off tank, they set the whole meta. You know, they're like, if you're playing Orisa Sigma, well, you're playing double shield. If you're playing Ryan Zar, you're playing Rush probably. If you're playing Winston Zar, you're playing double bubble probably. If you're playing this, yeah. And removing one tank, I think it kind of removes the fact that that now the tanks don't really. Maybe it will, but I feel like comps are not going to be as important as, for example, individual skill in Overwatch 2. I think that's what they're building towards too. I think that's, even if you look at the maps, which I really like in Overwatch 2, because in my opinion, Overwatch 1 has really bad maps. Like, I think 90% of maps in Overwatch 1 are just garbage. They're so badly designed because you have most of the time one choke and only one way to flank, and like the one way of flanking is just dog shit.
In optimal,
In optimal, yeah, like you have only a few maps that were OG that were actually good, and every new map has been horrible, like horrible. Havana,
Rialto's
Junker.
okay.
Yeah, Rialto is fine, but still, Rialto still suffers.
Also, second dose.
Yeah, like
yeah.
Rialto still suffers. Like when I'm playing a map, I don't want to feel like I'm going to the 9 circles of hell. Like that is like you have Rialto first point, which is fun, and then second point, sometimes you just get stuck on the bridge. That's it.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. I can't do anything. There's against a good team that caught us in a bad position. They just sit on the windows, and I cannot push past the bridge without dying. Like we can't rotate. It's impossible. Yeah.
I think something really interesting for that, it would be if you can set up secondary flanks, but make them go very long around the time. Because I remember we used to do this in Goats Meta a lot, Bogur, where like you would hard stuff a point. And so like if the team wants to take the safer, longer route, the cost of that comes from their time bank. Yeah, because they're rotating and wrapping longer. So you can take the safe option to cross the bridge, but it's going to cost your time bank. And I wish more maps had designed like that, but continue. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
But the issue is, again, like it works in a professional setting, in a team environment, but in ranked you don't have that. I cannot make 5 people, 3 of which are out of voice chat and 2 of which are playing some random hero and like calling my mercy player trash or some shit, or trash talking me for no reason, even though I have 500 SR above them. I can't make them rotate with me because they're too egoistical, and that's normal. That is normal, okay? I don't want to make it like it's an Overwatch only issue. It's an issue for every online game. It's just how it is, okay? It's just how it is. And it feels really bad. It feels horrible. It feels so bad.
It's not solvable either, by the way.
You can't solve it. And it's just how it is. Because people, like, online, they're just assholes most of the time.
You can't solve it, but you can mitigate it, right?
You can mitigate it, of course. But you're mitigating it by making the game revolve a lot less around playing with a team and a lot less around compositions. Like, in League, compositions are important. I've played a bit of League last year. But I can still pick just random heroes and win my game. Like that's it. Like you can do it in Overwatch as well, but like like in Apex, for example, I can queue up any hero in Apex as long as I have good aim, even if my abilities are shit. I can still win my ranked game, maybe not at the highest level.
Yeah.
Like there's a big difference, League as well. But in an average level, or like almost close to highest level, you can still do it. You can queue up with some random hero and still win the game. And it feels rewarding. It feels rewarding because you're winning because skill, and I think that's what they're focusing on in Overwatch 2. You wanna have your players feel rewarded, because you, especially if you're a low ranked player, you don't even know how to do rotations correctly. So you're just stuck forever.
Even GM players.
Even GM players don't know. Even I don't know sometimes what the fuck I'm supposed to do. I'm just lost. Like I'm looking at the enemy team. They play Big Zen.
Echo Mercy, just going.
Yeah, Echo Mercy. Yeah, they have Yasna on Pharah Mercy, and I can't do shit.
The EU trauma.
Yeah, I can't do anything, and it feels really, really, really bad. So some people are gonna disagree, but I like the fact that they're going more deathmatch and less team oriented, because I want to I want to enjoy the game. I don't want to always depend on my team. Of course, I don't always depend on my team. I can still queue up Winston. And like last season, I queued up Winston. I got 65% win rate, got to 4.5 and just stopped playing. Because I can do it. Because I'm exceptional at Winston. But it's like 0.01% of players. You can't expect that from everyone. And I can't do it on any other hero except Winston. Because I'm really good at Winston, you know? But I want to play other heroes as well. I want to play Reinhardt without getting fucked in the ass every game. You know, I am not LH Cloudy. I can't pull off what he does, even though I can win against him sometimes in a normal match, a comp v comp, but I cannot do what he does with flanking and killing everyone, because that's not my playstyle. I can win a 1v1 Ryan against him in a normal rush v rush, but I can't go around and kill the backline. I don't know how to fuck to do it, but he can do what I do on Winston as well, you know?
Yep.
But I want to be able to do it with most heroes. I want my mechanics to carry the game in a way, you know? I want to have more, you know, carry potential.
You
That's
feel
really good.
autonomy, right? Like you want to feel the power in your own game.
And Overwatch 2 also brings maps that are good in a way. From what I've seen from the maps, obviously, I really like how they're designed in a way. Because I watched the review and I watched some of the, you know, more like some of the screenshots more deeply. And from what I've seen, they rarely have big ass corridors where there's no way to hide and you just have to push through them, like Rialto or
Havana.
You know, second point Rialto, Havana and second point Rialto or Junkertown, and they don't have these things. There's
Every
always
CP map.
not only 2CP map, almost all of the maps they've released recently, last 5 years, 4 years, have been like that. There's huge open areas where snipers just dominate. And you need to play really well as a team to push past them. But if your team is not willing to, it's really hard. And you can't really carry, because if I'm playing a tank, I have nowhere to flank. I feel stuck most of the time. And from what I've seen in Overwatch 2, the maps have a lot of verticality, and they also have a lot of corridors where you can hide. You have a lot of cover.
Nooks and crannies.
There's a lot. That's good. It reminds me of Quake in a way, and it's really good. It feels really good to look at these maps and actually see so many possible ways to go around it, and I think it will be a lot more satisfying. You know, I will feel a lot more in control. I will not feel like I lost the game because the enemy team had Kevster on Widowmaker on Havana. I lost the game because I was not playing in cover enough in a way. Because it's easy to say just stay in cover. Yeah, I like that. A lot of people are gonna be like, no, game bad, but I a lot of the times blame myself for my losses. But when I queue up Junkertown in an open map, I can't feel like, you know, I just feel like it's out of my control sometimes. But here with Overwatch 2, the way they've made it, and also another thing, because Samito said, I think it was Samito or Flats, I've been ranting for so long I forgot. They talked about how, you know, you get don't get rewarded for your skills, because the heroes they keep releasing are heroes that reward just existence. And that's really bad game design. It's not only boring to play, but it's boring to play against. So who are these characters made for?
Boring to learn, too.
It's boring to watch, you know? A lot of the times you see...
How do you play Winston in today's meta?
How do you play Winston in this meta? You flank a lot. You just flank. You just try to kill them. Like, you don't play with your team. You fuck your team. They can fuck off, you know? I don't care about them.
I'm not like you. Like, your Winston's different. Like, you're like Cloudy. It's different. My way I play Winston is I sit there and absorb damage till I have nano. You know how terrible that is?
I'm just flanking. I'm just flanking. I feel like a tracer. I feel like I'm a tracer, and I'm just going around the map and just trying to kill their backline, but I can't kill their backline if they're playing Brings In. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that these characters are just bad character design, and they're horrible character design because they're not made for anyone. They're made for the casuals that don't want to invest in learning these characters, you know, like they don't want to invest in learning the game to get good, which is okay because every game has easy characters to play. The issue becomes when these easy characters become meta, because League, for example, has really easy characters to learn, but these characters are rarely the most dominant character because that becomes boring. It becomes boring. You always want your characters with the highest skill ceiling to always be the best if you can play them at their utmost potential. And that feels fulfilling. During Tracer meta, during Dive meta, it felt fulfilling to be a good Tracer player. And now, or it felt fulfilling to be a good Zen player back then, because you don't have great Genji, you know? Yeah, but now you cannot outplay them in any way. You cannot play them, of course, but if they're actually good at the game, they won't allow you to.
Yeah.
Because for you to outplay a Brigitte, you need to go and you need to dash, you need to bait the bash, and you need to do this. But all that Brigitte needs to do is hit one bash in 4 seconds. I think it's a 6-second cooldown, maybe. I don't remember how long the cooldown is.
I think it's 8 now.
Or 8, or just whip shot you, which is a 4-second
for 6
cooldown,
seconds.
you know, or she just massively just heals all the damage you do. And what I think is good for Overwatch 2 is that they're removing stuns, and they're also reworking some of the boring characters like Orisa, which some people are going to disagree, and they're going to think that they're going to say Orisa is really fun. I disagree. I don't think Orisa is fun. I think it's a terrible character design, just horrible. And they're reworking it. I want to see what the rework is, because maybe they finally understand that these characters they've been shipping out have been inherently just boring to play and boring to watch. One key thing that I want you to focus on, maybe try to answer, is I have rarely heard, of course, there's some one tricks that, claim they're the best, but I've rarely heard about the best Moira player or the best Orisa player or the best Brigitte player. There's some good Brig players, good Moira players. Of course, there's one tricks, but especially in Overwatch League, it just kind of all, becomes a mist. They all kind of group up together into the good Brig players and the bad Brig players, the good Moira players and the bad. There's no best, but when you go Winston, you're like, oh my god, Miro, or like this guy, or Gesture, they're crazy, or Reinhardt super is insane, or like Genji players, this guy, or like Tracer players, these people, these are the best Tracer players, Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with that point. I think that when the character doesn't necessarily have ways to display their skill, it becomes a bit homogenous, right? Like they're all playing Brig because they're all doing the Brig thing. But I wanted to take it to Flats, because I think Flats was alluding to something when he said, in fact, I'm losing my train of thought. Flats, you go ahead, because I know you've been wanting to say something for a while.
Well, I wanted to ask Bogur way back ago. I wanted to say to him, I think one of the things that is a little bit underappreciated at the moment, but is going to end up being a massively appreciated thing, is that ping system.
Yeah,
right?
I've talked about it before. I really want the ping system, because I can't say, team go play in hookah, because they don't know what the fuck hookah is. What the fuck is hookah? I tell it to a master players, and they go like, what the fuck is hookah? But if I can ping them, they go, oh yes.
Visual leading. It's very good in games, especially for
actually. I was talking with Emong. I don't know if it was during our talk. Like we did a little thing when we got the news, but we talked about after, alluded to what if Overwatch had kind of how like in CS and stuff like that, they have maps that have what are common callouts, you know what I mean? Like they call
like Heaven and
I wonder if Overwatch would make something similar and make it publicly available, so new players can come in and be like, this is very easily and very accessible, oh, this is the map, and then have little locations on the map that are called certain things, for example, on Junkertown second, if you're attacking the window above the mega, at the first corner, when you take second, is called Heaven. And I cannot tell you the amount of people I said heaven. I was like Hog Peak in Heaven, and I've had my Ana turn and look at me like I'm Heaven or something. I'm like, dude, what? Because up there, what?
Because these callouts are not as you said, they're not accepted by the community in a whole, in the sense that it's between us, it's our thing, it's in a way that it's
because the map hasn't been designed with a specific
exactly, it's not a specific
this.
I know these callouts, some of them, because of my time playing professionally, so even if you say Heaven, I know it's high ground, something high ground, something here.
Real quick, Bogur.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah.
In order for callouts to be a thing, people have to be in voice chat.
Yes,
but the ping system
helps. But the ping system helps.
I'm just trolling you.
Yes,
sorry.
but in a way, I think.
Sorry, bro. I just want Flats to finish his thought, because I just know, we've been ranting and raving, so I just want Flats to finish his thought.
Because the whole thing with the ping system, right? I can tell you as a tank player, my experience is terrible nowadays. It's awful, and I talked about it publicly for one of the first times. I mentioned it on stream here and there, but first it made it to a YouTube video, stuff like that. Is I almost quit Overwatch twice in the last year. And there was a couple reasons why I didn't, but realistically though, the experience today is very different than the experience I signed up for 2, 3, 4 years ago, right? Yeah. And I will tell you, the meta on ladder nowadays is deathmatch meta, and there's a lot of games you get nobody in voice or nobody talks. And I actually got a game. I had 2 games the other day that stuck out to me. One, we played Rush v Rush on King's Row. Ryan Zarya versus Ryan Zarya. Our supports played Lucio, Bap, both. Their DPS played Meg, Cass. Ours played Ash, Hanzo. We're losing because they're playing together, playing aggressive and calming. You can tell like they were just like playing together. Ours isn't, and our DPS are like, can we go double shield? I'm like, I'd rather lose. Like, I'd literally rather lose.
I want to
like,
go,
I'm
and
so sick of crushing it.
I want to cut off their internet cable so they can never play video games again. When somebody says, "Can we go double shield?"
But then I get blamed for not going double shield. I'm like, I'm not even egoing you. Like, I single-handedly won us 6 fights off Shatters alone this game. Like, we only pushed it in OT because I've won us 6 fights. What have you done? Like, you could swap and play Rush with us. This is the first game we're gonna have to play Rush in probably weeks. You probably haven't seen Rush in months, and you could have some fun with it, but you don't want to. You want everyone else to switch to you. That's number 1. Number 2, which is more towards the ping system, is I had another game later in the week, and I knew who like their other team was. They had a lot of people that like to calm and talk about it in ranked. And our team everybody was in voice, and I heard like, once in a while someone would talk, but like we were playing Rush v Rush and nobody wanted to talk at all. And I was like, this is why we're losing. Like, they flank or they do certain things and no one says anything. Like, we lose our bat because their cast was hiding in a corner waiting, but they didn't say anything. So like we walk up, we're basically there, the BAP dies. I figure it out 2 or 3 seconds into the engagement that, wait, our BAP just died. Wait, how? And then like it's already over. I think the ping system fixes that a little bit, because even if people don't want to talk, especially people that like, and this is especially valuable to regular gamers, like who play every day or play any games, like Valorant has a really good ping system. Apex has a really good ping system. Those players who don't want to talk or really aren't comfortable talking can still provide you useful information, like enemy here, watching this direction, attack here, or whatever it is. And you can still communicate in a non-verbal way. So it almost gives no excuse for not communicating with your team. Like, and unfortunately, that's just the reality we're in, is sometimes a lot of games people just don't feel like talking. They'll sit in voice and they won't say anything, or they don't want to be in voice at all, but they can still communicate. And that, I think, in my opinion, will help bring the game to a new level, because you'll always have a way to communicate with your teammates, and you'll always have a new way to receive information from your teammates. So you should always be getting more information now, because you can call them just normally. You know what I mean? Like for us, if you call them all the time, I know Sam calls like his heart's on the line in his Overwatch League finals half the games it's in. I love it. But not everyone's like Sam. And this way, though, it can always be brought to the next level. And I think that's huge for everyone, for casual gamers to everyday gamers to pro players to someone who wants to play the game every day. I can't tell you how useful it would be if I just got a ping behind and would say enemy behind, and I would like turn around really quick, and I know like, okay, I gotta slow down for a sec because they're about to get flanked and they're about to die. I can't take this engagement yet. You know what I mean?
And
like,
an actual location as well, not just like, because we
Yeah,
have some
exactly. I was gonna say,
help,
the way
help,
we
but
were
an
talking
actual
about
location.
Yeah, when
Right.
you ping, I want in Overwatch 2, when you ping, for it to tell you like the place, like I want them to separate the map into segments, and like in CS, for example, or Valorant, and when you ping, I want it to showcase the segments so people learn the segments, so it's easier to communicate. And also pings clear up a lot of useless comms.
or it says it at the bottom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just says it on the bottom in text chat. It just says enemy in heaven or something like that. So good job, like nice, and clears up comms so you can actually talk about like plans or something, and it's just not random shit. Like in ranked, a lot of the times what happens is you say enemy behind, but your behind is not the same behind as your Anna's behind. And your Anna gets annoyed at you, and they're like, "What the fuck? I just died. Why didn't you say anything?" And I said, "Enemy behind. Behind where? Behind who?" And I'm like, behind, like sometimes even I don't know how to call that exact position, But so it's
Yeah.
easier if you can just ping it, and they're like, behind me. Oh fuck. Like
Yeah.
it's so much.
And
easier.
and as much as I love thinking about my Anna's behind, I don't want to waste unnecessary time. So I think the ping system will really help. Sorry, that was a bad one.
That one's
so I wanna-
questionable. I'm gonna be honest
That
with
was
you.
definitely questionable. I mean, Anna low. But I want to take it. So yeah, Sam, the heroes, the maps, the roadmap. Again, just taking it back to the ordinary player. Do you think we've spoken about how this could, the death matchiness, the changes that they're making to the maps and stuff, that could bring the top tier, the skill reward back? What about for the average player? Will that bring them back to the ping system we spoke about? Will help? Would all this kind of allure them back to Overwatch? Is what we want, right? We want people to come back and play Overwatch.
I don't. I feel like we could ask a better question. What I mean by that is, I think everyone's already going to come back. The question is, will they stay? That's always been my big thing for Overwatch. It's like, I know for a fact everyone's going to come back and play Overwatch too. We have the most talented, like, visual people in the entire industry. Overwatch's game engine, even to this day, coming out 6 years ago, still to me is the best one that I've seen. And you have all these beautiful cinematics that I assume will come back. I think it's incredibly unlikely. Like, we got Bogur. I got Bogur hype. Yes, sir. No, I assume it's incredibly likely we see those, right? Like, surely, knowing their track record with those things, they don't miss, right? People are going to come back. The question is, are they going to stay? And I think that's to be determined. I really hope that Jeff Goodman and our hero design team learn from the mistakes of how we've implemented heroes and how damaging it can be if you crunch your skill floor and your skill ceiling together for the long-term success of your product. And I think if they learn from that, these players will come back. They will stay. The game will be fun, especially since Overwatch relies on those big pop-off moments. And I know I've had my opinions about our design team over the last 4 years that I feel like, based on precedent, have been pretty justified. But I also think that it's going to be fun to watch. That's what I'm going to say. I think it's going to be fun to watch. So I think we should just wait and see.
It's gonna be fun to watch because our content creators are great. Realistically speaking, we have pretty awesome
and play
people.
and fun to play.
And fun to play. Like yeah, of course, but people are gonna start playing because the content creators are having fun. Like, it's coming down to that economy. Like I've said it before, it's really important to have content creators enjoy their game, because then people come in and they're like, "Oh, this guy's enjoying the game. Now I want to play Overwatch." But when you click on the stream and the guy feels depressed and he hasn't slept in 16 hours queuing up ranked and has lost all of his SR and he hates everything and keeps repeating the same sentence, "I hate this game. I hate this game."
Yeah.
You don't feel like
it's so hard to stream. It's so hard, dude.
I also think that.
Literally,
go ahead, Sam.
So to cope with it and just try to make it entertaining whatsoever, I've started a thing where every time I tilt, it's $1 to UK Children's Hospital, which is because I would have died as a baby if they didn't save my life. So now you dumbasses have to deal with me.
Dude. You're gonna be broke.
Hey, I'm only at $13. I'm only at $13. So
really?
Far.
Wait, how did you start?
Someone came into my chat yesterday, said you were on 25.
You think my chat can count? Like, come on.
That's true.
Like,
When did you start it? That's awesome.
A day and a half ago. Well, honestly, like, it's been it's the main tilt comes in when no. But no, so the main tilt comes in, I'm popping off, gapping a team, and then they swap double shield bat brig, and then you see my roll's value immediately go to, like, you see me make all the right plays. I explain why they're good plays, how I've cornered them, how I've controlled the map, how I've done all these things. Drone. Brig survives on point because she's got a tank health pool.
It's
rally,
so
lose, and OT. It's just awful. But that's
awful.
the main tilt thing.
I'm just gonna say 15 seconds. So awful. Again, the same experience as Samito. I'm playing Winston. The enemy team is like, "Let's go Winston." They go. I roll them for 3 minutes.
Because you're better. They
go Briggs, then they go double shield, and then they just say GG main tank diff, and I wanna literally act.
And you know what's crazy about that? They haven't even made any big plays to stop you. They've just picked the kits, and that is so shit to play.
And that is a point
play.
worth emphasizing, I think, because that is a part of what we're moving away from, right? That philosophy. Because I do think a lot of people cling on to the whole counter picking thing. That it was a core philosophy of Overwatch, right? It was
it skips this counter picking, skips the means. Because if you want to counter pick, you should still have to be smarter, better, outperform. But these abilities at their skill floor do it for the players, which is just fucking stupid.
Well, it has to be a soft corner, right? Not a hard counter. That's different. It can't
like,
be I pick this hero,
exactly.
you can't pick this hero.
Like for example,
I pick this hero and then I do this.
To counter Cass real quick, like to counter Cass back in the day.
Yes, that's what I wanted to say. Go.
I would pick Genji, right? Like back in the day, I picked Genji. Did I have an inherent advantage over that player? No. I'd have to position in a spot, sit up pre-fight to corner him.
Yep.
Close the distance. Actually bait him into my deflect. I would have to set up my ability to succeed. And that was my skill as a player. Not I drag and strike a team that's cornered and the bat presses E in a fucking corner and I'm useless.
Yeah.
And
Like
it's just awful. Go ahead, Flats. It's just awful.
the way I think about it, right? Like is kind of like to set 2 bars. Like so, the Cassis player is like right here. Your Genji is right here, right? So like they're pretty much the same. But because you understand your hero really well, you can play it really well. Even if they play it really well, you have to make the plays to still kill them, right? Like there has to it is like on all encompassing terms like a soft counter. Like it's you pick that hero to have a really good chance to have a chance to beat them higher than the pick you're currently on, but you must still perform. The hard counter, which is why I try to, because people sometimes go like, oh, this counters this. I go, no, that's wrong. Like it will soft counter. Yes, it's a good pick, but it should not auto beat it. Brig auto beat Tracer. You'd have like Dante getting smoked by Masters Brig players.
Yeah, it
because
just should never
they
happen.
just picked the hero and they hit someone once so they'd have Inspire so they couldn't die for 12 seconds, you know? I mean, like, obviously it was like only 6, but like, you know, their health pool and how long they stayed alive and their shield. But if they got close, bashed, swing, boom, one tap. Like as long as they had fingers, they could do that. And like it didn't matter how good the best player was, you just lost.
Even
that
now
is terrible. Like
even
that
now, it's still true.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
To
funny.
a less of a degree, but it's still
no,
true.
but exactly. But the Brig is armor and like just existing in the shield, whip shot, keeping the heal always up. That's a super hard counter, and that's awful. What it should be is if you're like, okay, this Tracer is destroying us, I swap Brig, I now have a slightly better chance of dealing with her, but I have to know how to play Brig. If I don't know how to play Brig, I can't just pick up the hero and all of a sudden beat you. Because if that's how it works, then it's terrible. Because that doesn't matter how many hours you put into that Tracer, if another player just picks that hero and they beat you with no skill involved and no time investment and no skill investment or whatever, that's toxic and terrible for the game. And like that's kind of where we're at right now. We need to get away from it.
It just feels unfulfilling. It's like kind of like it's not pay to win, but it feels the same way because if I have 1,000 hours in this certain game, and then this guy who has a lot of money comes in and just buys all of the good stuff and destroys me in a 1v1 because he has better stuff, not because he played better, not because he had more experience than me, but just because he had the right credit card, you know, and
Like an Ultimate Team.
it's not the exact same, but it's the same feeling of like if I am playing a tank and like Winston and I'm rolling the enemy backline because their Ana keeps missing the sleep darts or their cast keeps missing the flash or like their whatever, I keep outplaying them and they just say, well, okay, and they just go Briggs in and I just lose. That's it, you know, that's it, that's over. And it's so boring because now I'm forced into a position where I can try really, really hard to win the game, and no matter how hard I will probably lose the game. I really need to go Super Saiyan to win the game. And if the enemy team is actually good, if they are actually good Briggs End players, not just random master players, I would just lose the game. I lose. There's nothing I can do, and it feels so.
It's because her heal range is so good.
Not only that, she just out heals my damage, and if I try to go in, I just die, and the Discord just kills me.
And by the hero doing it, it's not the player doing it either. Just it's passive.
It's just the hero.
And people don't know this too. Brig has more heal per second on an individual target than Mercy and Lucio combined at base. If she packs him, has Inspire up, it's more than both of those heroes combined. It's it's broken. It's broken.
And if I go for a Primo and I try to juggle the enemy Zenyatta, I'm sorry, Isabel, just finish.
No, go ahead.
And if I just juggle the enemy Zen and they have an Ana, I can play around the Ana.
You can space in between the two and block the healing.
I have a lot of things
can't do that with Brig.
But with Brigitte, if I try to juggle the Zen, I feel like pulling out my hair because she can just keep fighting, turn around for 1 second, throw a pack, and then the Zen will not die. Even I can sit there and I can juggle him perfectly for 10 seconds straight, double juggle. I can go in. Okay, so okay, guys, this is the plan now. This is the plan. Listen, this is the plan. Nano boost me. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna go on top. I'm gonna zap a bit. Then I'm gonna land melee cancel to deal 80 damage minimum. And then I'm gonna Primo to do an animation cancel. So I can instantly melee again. And then I'll do a double juggle into them and juggle again. And it doesn't matter because my combos don't matter because I need to put so much thought, but then the Brigitte just goes.
She just exists and counters you. And I stand by this. Do you guys know why the game? Go ahead, SPB. Sorry.
Sorry, Bogur. I hate to cut you off because I know what you're saying is valid. But here's my question to you, because a lot of people are going to be listening to this and going to say, okay, so you have like, near zero faith in the balance team. with that as a starting
Wow.
point, what makes you think that, or certainly your faith has been hurt. What makes you think then it's going to be better with 5v5 beta Overwatch 2? Like, what is it that you're seeing that you're like, yeah, that should be better. That won't happen. Bogur,
They
you got your
admitted
hands up.
mistakes. They actually said they're removing a lot of CC, and they actually said they're reworking kind of some of the characters that have this issue, and I think that's really good. I think it's really important. I think the main issue here is, like, of course, Brigitte does a lot of healing, but also CC, and we've talked about it a lot of. I'm sure we've talked about this every single podcast, but this game has so much CC. It's so unfulfilling. It's so boring. It's so like, and the CC in this game, in any game, like, it's just core game design. It needs to not be a point and click adventure. You need to actually hit your CC. Like I know Flashbang is a bad example because you have a bigger range. I think you should have a lower range. But Sleep Dart is a great CC. See, like, it never feels unfair to get destroyed by Sleep Dart. Never. I can be really angry. I can have a 10-game lose streak, but if I get slept, I know it's my fault. That's it.
Yeah,
But if I get bashed by Brigitte, or if I get booped, because what happens when you die for break is she boops you away.
You want to tell me the other day?
Bogur. Let's leave Brig alone. Let's leave Brig alone for a
whatever.
moment.
It's not me for once. Let's go.
Yeah, but it's just like
He's
they
right,
said
though.
they're changing it, and that's really important. So good.
Sam, you want to tell them about our experience
here?
the other day when I popped Primal on you? That was
When I bashed you and you instantly exploded, yes. But I want to make a point about the beta and to answer SB's question a little bit. Yeah, I just bashed Flats and he instantly died from 1,000 health.
1,000
With
HP
Big
to
Ten.
0, just like
In 1 second. So I have a couple concerns about 5v5, and these are all hunches, right? One, I'm worried support is going to be awful except for Brig. And here's why. Another tank soaking up damage it helps these backlines sustain, especially with a lot of the big sustainabilities in the game. I'm really scared that support as a role might just get fucking run over by hypermobility. Aside from Brig, ironically. Two, oh my god, I'm not gonna brain fart, am I?
Well, actually, while I can give you a second to actually jumpstart because I'm kind of like in the same boat.
Go.
I think that damage overall is going to be a lot lower in 5v5, right? Like the other tank actually puts out a lot of damage, and in turn is a lot of healing, right? So like there's going to be a lot less ultimates across the board, right? So like to your point about supports, I wonder if like how are they going to balance some of these roles, right? Like for example, Ana, BAP maybe be a little bit better because it's like kind of DPS-y, but especially something like Ana or even Mercy, or Moira, which is very heal heavy. Like Ana can do other things and has good abilities, but like if the tanks don't need as much healing, because like you have 2 supports on 1 tank, and your DPS need like the sufficient amount of healing they currently have. As we currently see in the live version running, Brig Zen is a very powerful comp, and GM shows that even in 2 tanks, you don't need that much healing as long as the tanks can kind of keep themselves alive and not feed too hard.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, is the support role going to need to become more fraggy and more like active as opposed to more like raw healing? And is that going to like, is that going to throw people off?
I think it should become more slippery. Maybe I'm wrong. Right,
slippery,
maybe
but not
I'm wrong.
CC. Because I think the reason so much CC exists, right? Like the reason supports had CC is because the double tanks, right? Like tanks walking over supports and you couldn't do anything. Like they needed to have a way out. They needed sleep. They need anti. They need bash. They needed Guardian Angel to escape. But like I think Guardian Angel is a good example of something like to escape as opposed to like not double down and like fuck you. Like I'll take the battle and I'll win. Like I kind of wonder.
I think perma stealth needs to go. I don't like perma stealth. I think that's dangerous. Like having heroes like that where GA would just kind of be useless, right? Because they're just perma stealth. She tags you, you're fucked, right? But I think as well when we talk about CC, I don't even think flashbang is a huge problem. I think the hammer behind the flashbang is the problem.
It's a combination.
It's when there's CC plus insane additional utility to the characters, because Ana only has the nade, and if she uses both her sleep and nade, she's diveable. Brig has her bash, but all the passive value she also does. Cass, in a way, I think honestly should have his flashbang. I think Cass flashbang is incredibly important to mitigating a lot of the slippery heroes. The problem, though, is that the fan is too easy to hit to follow up with on top of many other CCs. Like, for example, when we complained about CC, I was pissed when they nerfed Shatter. Shatter wasn't the problem, right? Because Shatter was Ryan's. That was like that version of his CC was his trump card. This is my all in. I hit this or I don't. If I don't, we're fucked. And it takes skill to land, right? So they need the downtime. But for some of the other heroes, like Sigma's Rock, he's got Grasp, he's got his shield, and he's got his Pogue. So he doesn't really need that CC. But when you add it to the other things, it becomes problematic. So if you're going to have that level of CC, I don't think it's a problem. But if you miss it, you need to be in serious trouble. And that's what Sleep Dart is. That's what Shatter is. Because the heroes past that point don't have uptime. Because the Overwatch used to be push and pull. 5v5 doesn't solve that either. Hero design does. So that's why I'm really concerned. And that's why SVB, I'm trying to keep this on subject. It's too soon to tell. So what I really want to see from Blizzard, like I think Cassidy needs his flashbang. He needs it. He's going to be dog shit without it. I can tell you right now. I would rather see Cass, and to credit Wanted, keep the flashbang, lose the fan to open up the door for tank play against him, but reward the shots, right? Like, I don't think that the flash is the big problem. It's every other part of the utility where we're trying to balance gets around, where they just do more on top of it. And I think I'm really nervous about hypermobility. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not sure. But
I think in general, no, you actually stayed far more on topic than we've been doing a lot of this time. So kudos to you. But what I was gonna say, I think there's not infinite, but near infinite ramifications that are gonna come. Because I think Overwatch is like such an intricate game where like you take one thing and you change it, and it has like a million knock-on butterfly effects. And I think there's not only what will be done when you lose one tank and one single player in the game, but there's all the additional things that brings. Lack of ult charge, for example, right? And it's like, well, now tanks can delineate their roles. So it's like, okay, well, I'm main tank, I do this, you're off tank, you do that. But in a world where they both have to do the same job, like, do they all have to be able to do this? Do they all have to be able to do that? What about certain heroes that are there to tank bust? What's going to happen to them? So one thing, I mean, I expect the game to be broken or something to be wildly off in some form. And I hope the community is too. I hope that we're kind of ready for wild crap. And maybe a long time before that even gets sane.
Yeah.
Here's a point, though. The people that beat the war drums of balance will be much quieter if there's a constant stream of content.
Yes.
As long as stuff isn't game breaking. Apex is a good example where they released Seer. It was game breakingly broken. They had to nerf him twice, and they did it within 2.5 weeks. First one came out in a week.
19 nerfs, and she's still dominating the game.
Yeah. Like I feel like they had to go immediately to make sure it wasn't broken, and then they worked from there. However, though, Apex has its own problems balance-wise. You know, people talk about Jibby being so strong, but it's only a high-level strong. It's like kind of like Brig, but like not nearly as oppressive. It's just very strong, and they don't really know what to do with it. I get that, but as long as they keep a constant stream of content, you know, new guns, new heroes, whatever it is. And I think if we have something the same, whether it's new heroes, whether it's new maps, new game modes, which I wonder, I really hope and wonder if there's like new game modes that are on the way and they kind of like want to phase out or change the way some of the old ones work. Because one of the things I think of is in 5e. Yeah, I mean, the 2CP is going to go away, right? And they like
Push is great, by the way. I played it in 2019. The tempo is really, really fun and healthy. Continue. Sorry.
And like in 5v5, like objective stuff is going to be a little bit tougher, right? Like who goes on objective right now? Like it's like mostly either your off tank or one of your supports, because like the DPS need angles, one of your tanks needs to hold space, if not both. And in the current meta, in today's thing, Brig Zen gotta go take high ground, so they're like hard to get to, and it only one or two people can get there at a time, and they can duel those and beat them. So like, who sits on cart? You know, a lot of times that's actually kind of a hard question to answer, and I wonder if the flow of Overwatch is going to be a little bit tough to be look towards like new different types of game modes. And like, I think Push is like a decent, you know, example from like what we saw is like, you know, it's like a lot of deathmatch, but it's like constantly moving and it's constantly flowing, and you're fighting for map control because you have to like push into their territory, kind of like escort, but like they can also push you back, you know. And it's like there's all these crazy like concepts that could work and like have as the game flows. But that's the key. If there's always stuff coming, even like the stuff, as long as it's not game breaking, like underlying problems will just be an annoyance as opposed to this is fucking us, because something else comes out and people are satisfied and they have something fun to do and something new to play. And, it'll probably affect the pros and the highest level people the most, but those lower levels, like casuals, those, everyday gamers, but maybe like just play in the lower ranks all the way, like, even up to like Diamondish, like people that just play the game every day, it's not going to affect them nearly as hard because they don't put in as many hours as those top players. But that's okay, because we'll have stuff to hold on to, like, yeah, but they don't hate the game. They love the game, so they're gonna watch content. They're gonna watch Overwatch League. So like, even if we're suffering a little bit with a balance of somewhere, we'll still be getting other benefits from somewhere else. So not everyone's melting down. It's like, yeah, okay, like this hero is a little strong and like it kind of is annoying to play against, and I'd like something done. But even though it's not anything getting done, we're getting a new hero next month, and that's gonna bring a bunch of content, and like we'll be able to farm a bunch of content off that. And it will go in Overwatch League, and Overwatch League is going to make more money because it's going to have more viewership, which means in turn the teams can pay more because they're getting more revenue come in, which means the players make more, has a more healthy tier 2 scene, and everyone keeps moving. So like,
I go life.
You gotta be careful. Like, like I am one of those people. I'm not totally sure on the balance thing. I think here's my last sentence about balance. I think that they didn't understand tanks, because tanks are one of the hardest things to balance, because you can change a support change and it changes the tank meta. And that was one of the things that was hardest to explain to the dev team. And it's not like they're not dumb, you know what I mean? Like there are intelligent individuals. It's just like, it's hard to please everybody. And I feel like they were trying to please everybody at once. And they would do something like, for example, when Ryan got nerfed. Remember, Ryan got his big Giga Chad buff, and it was really strong for like 3 weeks, and then they got rid of that. Which, to be honest with you, that was kind of sad.
Wait, which one?
We got
like
550 HP,
85 hammer swing, the extra
85
armor.
hammer swing, 550 HP. But like Rush was like
No,
really heavy on the ladder
they
for a
buffed
little while.
it, and then after a month or like after some while, Rush started becoming meta because people were like, wait, we can play Rush now, and then they just nerfed it, and it was like, okay, but what? You know,
exactly.
Because
Here's
everyone
what
was
they
super
did.
happy. Yeah, go.
They nerfed not only the HP, so Ryan was squishy again. They also nerfed BAP, which BAP was part of the key to keeping that alive, because BAP, even with the 10 less healing per second, could keep double a shield alive, no problem. The extra 10 healing of BAP plus the extra HP of Ryan is what kept Rush strong and was able to be played against double shield, because double shield couldn't poke it down in time, because the extra HP, the extra healing, Ryan could make it there. And the explanation I always give is, imagine we're balancing a game where it's an open field game and it's a 1v1 like fighting, right? And one guy who's dominating the game has a sniper, and the least powerful hero is a guy with a sword, right? The sniper keeps beating the guy with the sword because they're sitting in an open field, and instead of buffing the amount of like health the sword has or the speed to get there, they made the sword do more damage. Like, what the fuck are you? What are you smoking, dude? Like, that's clearly not the problem, And it's like,
what makes it worse, dude, the sniper also had a better sword.
Yeah.
Like, like
you actually I was talking the whole time, so even you're still
the problem is like double shield has still to this day the best sustainabilities in the game.
Look,
so
I think to the original point the Flats made.
I want to say one thing.
Okay,
I really important to emphasize, when I played professionally and I quit, it was double shield and like this bullish Brigitte Zen composition was meta. Then I played for a year and a half without playing professionally, and I played professionally again just for a little bit with friends. It was again, that was the meta. I quit. It's a year and a half since then, and it's still the same meta, and I just don't know what to say.
Well, this is exactly what I was going to allude to, which is that there, in the grand scheme of things, we'll always complain about something. I'm sure fellas will get in a call and we'll find something to be annoyed about and something that's bothering us and raging the hell out of us in our games. But as Flats talked about, with Apex, they have their complaints, and those entitled babies, they don't get a new hero for like a month and they're like, what is this? No new content. So there will always be, I mean, look at every game. Valorant, they complain. Even StarCraft 2, they complain about like, oh, you didn't change the balance, you didn't do this. So there will always be something. But I think what Flats alluded to is a good point, which is that as long as things are at least moving, I think feeling like something is off with the balance combined with staleness is what obviously really, really causes us to lose our minds. So having that shifting thing will be good, and that's what should hopefully bring a change. And so what my next question is going to be, and I'm going to lead off an answer already, is that a lot of people have already said, well, we're just getting one hero though. It's Sojourn, and we were supposed to get loads of new heroes.
The beta.
Will the beta feel that much different? What I'll say to that is, well, firstly, this is just the first stage. Secondly, I actually think people are underestimating the feel of the changes that are going to come, in that it's one thing to comprehend physically, like, oh yes, they're going 5v5, and the visuals look, the UI looks different, and the sounds are different, and the thing, like, there's a few feel elements that they've said.
Though.
Yeah, and reworks, right? So there's the one element of like understanding, yeah, I know the Bastion is different now, but it's a whole different thing playing it and getting into the game and being like, oh, Bastion does that now, or, you know, Doomfist is a tank now, or the sound is different, or the UI is different. So that, I think people are really underestimating what the freshness of that will be.
Can I elaborate as well?
Go ahead, Samito.
Sorry, actually, you can finish your point. I don't want to cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, coupled with the fact that this is just the first step, so there will be more heroes.
Let me just say this. Even in 2019, I played Overwatch 2 at BlizzCon 2019. Push replacing 2CP as a game mode in and of itself completely changes the flow of the game, and it's way more fun. Even in 6v6 back in the day, right after they implemented role queue, it was incredibly fun to play. The tempo was incredibly different. You had the ult cycle of Koth, the tempo of Koth with a feel of Escort. And that in and of itself already made the game feel very different. We haven't even begun to see Tank Fist. We haven't even begun to see a lot of the other alleged reworks that have come. And especially without a second tank in the game flow in and of itself is already going to be incredibly different. So I will go out on a limb here and say, based on, you know, anything that we've seen over the last 3 years, even if you were going to go back a week ago from today, the answer would still be the same. The game is going to feel completely different. And it just is going to be completely different from anything that we've seen or played. The question should more so be, is it going to be more enjoyable rather than is it even going to be different? Because it's 100% without a doubt a completely different game.
Can I say something? It is a lot of people are going to disagree with me, maybe, because people have strong opinions about heroes outside of my angry persona, which I am today, because a lot of pent up rage.
Primal
I'm not
rage.
this angry person in real life, but for me, in general, I want to piggyback from what Samito is saying. I think the issue with the game is less about balancing, because, you know, no game will ever be balanced. It's impossible. It can't happen, as we said. And it is, some heroes are obviously broken, need some tuning, which they will tune. I think the main issue with the game and why it's so boring to play, except the content route, I think it's just the map design. And like Samito just said it himself, I care less about the new heroes, and I care more about the new maps and the removal of the bad maps, which are 2CP. Because the 2CP maps and these boring, like, long-range open field maps, they enable double shield and spammy comms. But when you introduce these more chaotic and these more pointer, like, not even pointer in, but I haven't played push, but from what Samito has told me, a lot of people have told me, the fights are a lot more chaotic and not so slow paced, and there's a lot of combat going on and a lot of action coming like happening. It's like KOF, like he said, and that will enable more fun heroes to play, not just double shield, because first there's gonna be no double shield, but like it is the maps that enable the boring comps, you know? Like, I can still play Rush, and I can still play Winston on Gibraltar pretty consistent, not Rush on Gibraltar. Like, I mean, Winston on Gibraltar, but Rush and King's Row, for example, people still play double shield on it, but there's a way higher chance of me winning on King's Row playing Rush or something like that, or like playing Winston on Gibraltar, because these maps just enable these compositions, because they're good maps. I really like Gibraltar. I really enjoy Gibraltar. I think it's a really good map. I think King's Row is a good map. I think Lijiang is a really good map. These maps just enable good comps because they're really good maps. They just don't allow these boring stale comps to dominate, because there's so many ways to either approach a choke point, or they just enable one specific composition in a way. And if they actually fix their map design, their map philosophy, and they change up the boring maps, and they remove 2CP, and they just release one hero, I think the game will feel vastly different. I don't want 10 more heroes to be released at once, because it's going to become the same thing that's happening right. Like, yeah, it's going to be refreshing, but it's going to be hell to balance. Like, they will never be able to balance it if they just throw everything at once.
One thing
Yeah.
I just like really quick. I know you wrote your balance. And I want you to go back to it, but like here's the thing: we have never got to see what experimental means, right? Like the whole reason they made the experimental patch was because they couldn't put patches out fast because of Microsoft and Sony and like the consoles and stuff. They had to keep it all aligned. What that experimental does, it makes it so it's a hot fix, so they don't have to register a
That's how
patch. So
Fortnite
they
was able
should
to
be much
update.
faster.
There was some that the companies would have to pay every time they'd push an update to console unless their game was listed as a public beta or alpha, which is why Fortnite was technically in alpha for 2 years, basically to get around that paywall. That was just bullshit from Microsoft and Sony.
I think
I don't know if it's still there.
there's also why console aren't getting the beta right now as
Beta,
well. I
yeah,
think,
as well.
FYI,
Yeah.
for the
Yeah,
people who are
they're-
upset.
So don't complain
sorry.
don't complain at Blizzard. Complain to Microsoft and Sony for their shit policies. So
Yeah.
That's not Blizzard's fault.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not. But I just
finish
believe.
your point, Bogur. Finish
I
your
was just
point.
saying, I just believe that a lot of the issues with the game, as I said, just lie in the design. They just enable like really bad compositions to be meta and dominant. They reward really long range AFK playstyle where you just exist doing like I feel like if I play the game right now, I'll get way more value by just existing really passively on my heroes and dual queuing some really good, sniper or like Pharah player than me just playing really aggressively as we've talked before. And that boils down a lot of the time because of the maps. Like 90% of the maps look like that. They just reward that kind of gameplay. But if I queue up in Gibraltar, I know I can win this map 95% of the time just purely because I'm really good at Winston. This map enables this kind of playstyle. And I'm sure like a lot of Reinhardt players, it kind of doesn't. People still play double shield on Kings of War, and I kind of want to break their knees. I'm sorry, it sounds like kind of, but like it really kills me when
hey,
somebody
Skyrim
plays
it.
double shield.
Arrow to the knee.
Yeah, and but it's just a bad map design. Like if they fix the core issues of these heroes, which they maybe are, hopefully, it's like a test. It's a test, like because you guys talked about maybe supports are gonna be really bad right now. This is a test towards the developers if they finally realize what the problem is in their heroes and their hero design and philosophy. If they can finally realize that and fix it, and they finally make good maps, the game will never be balanced, and I don't care about the balance because no game can be balanced.
It's
and
about what rewards you and what doesn't.
Yes, I just want to be rewarded for good gameplay, and I want to play in a fun map, not just peek around the corner because I have to peek around the corner to push the cart and just die instantly because there's a sniper all the way from fucking Watchpoint Gibraltar sniping me, and I'm playing Lijiang Tower over 5 kilometer distance and just dinking me because I have to push the car. Like first point, Havana is a great example of that. They're playing snipers across the map, and for the first 1 minute, I have to sit on cart and get dinked in the head. There's no other way I can do it.
Like,
I can turn
well, Havana's just a terrible map.
I can turn around in my ass, and this is what happens every Havana map. I'm gonna play something that's not Orisa. I'm gonna go on the fucking card so I don't get dinked in the head for 1 minute straight. I don't die, and that's the gameplay. That's my gameplay.
Did you play a game with Emong like last week where he walked out of spawn on Havana, stood on the cart, and just died?
Yeah. And you know what's even worse than first point? Third point.
Yes.
But point is impossible to push because they can sit all the way from spawn.
I think that this has been solved. Honestly, yes. I really do think that there's going to be way less of that in Overwatch.
I actually think so too. That's why I'm hyped because I believe from what they've shown us that it is actually
even Toronto. The map design for Toronto is really brilliant, and push in general is super brilliant from everything that I've seen because the maps they weave like a snake almost.
Yes, that's so
back
good.
And forth.
I
so
love
like the actual distance where someone can set up away from the cart and be contributing to the fight has been cut almost in half. And even on the new map, that Coliseum map, whatever the pros trimmed on, you see the cart like go under, wrap up, and back around, and that's really clever. Right? Because the actual, like, there are still high grounds for you to poke, but the actual distance that a player has to go to get to you is much shorter, giving them more options, especially with a lot of verticality I assume they've added to the game. And that's all been really good. So I'm excited to see that. But what was the main question, SVB, again?
Well, I want to lead to a new question because we're bringing to a good point, and I actually want to ask this. 2 questions, again, related questions, so go off on the tangent you want. Firstly, how many maps is enough maps is a question that people have started asking already because we're going to get new maps. So do you think there should be like a limit, of like the maps we're gonna get, or do you want to see maps from now forever? And second question, which actually it just came to me recently, and I'm like, you look at something like Valorant, and they're constantly tweaking their maps. Overwatch doesn't tweak their maps anymore. Like they did the one time they did it was with Eichenwald. When Eichenwald was released, it
And
was
Horizon.
horrible. No one
They
liked
did Horizon.
They did Horizon, but it didn't work.
They just
Where
deleted it.
no
They're like,
one- no
oh,
one
okay,
liked-
it's not gonna work. Okay, goodbye. That's fine.
So,
Okay.
should there be a finite limit on maps, and should they just focus, let's say, also on tweaking existing maps? If people are like, this sucks, so let's say Havana, to tweak it, to say, okay, we're gonna tweak it, add this here, this little box here, because Valorant does this all the time, where they're like, literally just like, we changed this box, so instead of being this height, it's now this height.
You know who
And
else did
changed
it
the whole
better than
thing.
Valorant did? Warzone. Verdansk, they updated it continuously, and by the time the map left, it was amazing. Like 3 times better to play. So for one, sorry to take the lead here, guys. But I think that quality over quantity on maps, for sure. I think, first of all, Havana might as well be a new map if they rework it. They should absolutely rework that map, 100%. And Junker, I think Junkertown could get some minor changes too. Yeah, I agree. Plus one. I'm a Hanzo player, and I always never really liked Junkertown. I think that just giving more options, and kind of how we talked about earlier, I think it would be really nice to see, especially for these poke-centric maps like Rialto when you get stuck on the bridge that you guys were talking about. It'd be very interesting to see like a safer route, but at a cost for time bank, because rotations to get to the fight, especially on escort, can be very time-consuming. And if you want to take the safe rotation, say you're getting held and you have to do it 3 or 4 fights and it takes 15 seconds longer, that's a minute off the clock. That's a lot of time. That's a whole ult cycle, right? That's worth a lot. So I think that in terms of improving maps, it should happen. I'd like to see 2 new maps for each game type at least that are good, because if they're good, and honestly, the push maps from what I've seen all look great. I don't think they're gonna have any problem with push at all. I'm more so worried about hybrid and escort.
Flats?
So I agree, but I kind of disagree. But I want to be very careful with how I phrase this, because I do think that I wouldn't say limit the maps. I think having new maps is always great. But here's kind of what I think. I think there should be definitely a bunch of new maps, but the game is going to and has changed. Most of the old maps need to be reworked. And I think by releasing new maps, you can take old maps out of the rotation, fix them, kind of like how Siege did. Now, this is where I want to kind of be careful. Rainbow Six Siege used to do that, where they took old maps out of the rotation, changed them because the game had completely changed. For example, though, there were certain maps like Oregon, right, or Clubhouse, or Canal, like maps that were very much loved by the community that then had to be changed. I, being an old player, hadn't played for forever. I hated the new changes. However, though, I didn't play the game anymore. Most of the community who played the game thought they were exceptional. Reason being that the game had changed so much. So for my day, things like, if you've ever played Siege, my team was one of the first to implement the Blackbeard Habana strat, which Habana used to shoot these 6 little charges onto the wall, and then she'd detonate them, and it would make a small hole. What we would do is put the 6 on the wall, break all of them but one, and then break a small hole, and then take Blackbeard, who had a face shield, which that thing was broken, and stick the gun with the face shield in this small hole, and just have a turret in the defense room. Like you couldn't shoot him because you shot it. It was just the shield. It was like, what are you gonna do? And then you could work from there. It was toxic. It was evil. It was awful. But the game evolved later to a punch hole meta, which was you would literally go through 3 rooms and make punch holes through the 3 rooms. A small, like, just melee the wall once, and you would watch with a scope through the 3 walls. And if something walked by it, you shot it. So you couldn't, if you went and entered the building on the other side, somebody shot you through a small hole that you couldn't see from the other side of the map. And because the wall showed the break mostly on the receiving side, if you entered from the outside, it was very difficult to tell that there was a hole in the wall, and people would just get one-tapped. It was awful. It looked terrible. So the maps needed to be reworked because the game had changed and the operators had changed. There will be people that are very resistant, and I think they should be careful with maps that are beloved, like Kings Row, or even Eichenwald, or maps that are generally regarded as very good. However, though, the game is going to need to constantly evolve, because if they keep updating new heroes, new game modes, updating those heroes, whether it's new abilities, new hero just releases, we could get a hero tomorrow that's just like, they're basically like a walking bubble, like kind of like ball, but kind of like instead like they're very slow, but they just have like they're just a dome of some like some crazy shit, right? Like the game would have to completely change at that point, removing old maps, having new maps for content so people don't feel like you're losing content, and then reworking those old maps and reintroducing them later, then having later on a new map come in. So you know what I mean? So like you're kind of getting double the value by
Big picture is
reworking
smart.
old
It's
maps
efficient.
and then putting new maps in as well. So if a new map comes in and it's a failure, you can remove it and you still have all this other content. And then boom, like a month or two later, we just finished reworking Havana, and all of a sudden Havana feels a lot better. You know what I mean? Like you can kind of play with it a lot
Hey,
more.
don't tell Jay that. He likes Havana. He's
Yeah,
weird.
Jay's takes are just terrible. Let's be honest with ourselves. But yeah, like I wouldn't say there needs to be a cap for say of new maps, but I think that having new maps is healthy. It's going to be a good thing, especially with how Overwatch does its maps. To be honest with you, there's almost not a reason to, because they make maps based on the world, like like new maps like Rome or something, and then we had Paris before, which was terrible, but like we have all these maps like
Do you know what would be really cool? Do you remember
Yeah.
when this wasn't a gameplay change, but when Doomfist was put in the game alongside the storyline, the Orisa bot was punched in the
Yes.
airport, and there was the flight
They're
sign
still
changed
stuck
away.
there.
It's still there. It's still there.
Somebody
What
help
a
'em.
shitty airport! What a shitty airport!
Those guys
Yeah,
have never
yeah.
taken their flights home. They're still stuck there 3 years later.
But
Yeah.
Flats, I think that's I actually agree with that 100%. I think that's a much better way to put it.
And that actually brings me to another good point,
Yeah,
which,
Marissa.
unless anyone has anything to add on the map thing, what I wanted to bring up is that Overwatch has been a game out. It's been out for a long time, and we haven't really addressed some of the philosophical changes that have taken place in that time. Like we've kind of subtly adapted, but I don't think we've ever really had like a strict conversation that like this thing is no longer a thing. So I think hero swapping is a great example where it's like hero swapping is like at release, Overwatch is like, yes, this is a game, swap heroes all the time, pick and counter pick. We kind of reached a point now where we're like at the competitive level, hero swapping is just generally a bad idea. Like you run the best comp and you run it for the map because ult economy is so important. And we haven't really addressed that thing, right? We haven't been like, yeah, Overwatch is not really a game about hero swapping anymore. And I think and we spoke about counter picking, and we were speaking about how 5v5 will make it a bit more deathmatchy. And another good example is Reinhardt. Like the game has left Reinhardt behind, I think, in many ways. Like he's this brawly death ball kind of enabler, and the game is moving away from death ball enabling, but we've never really had that conversation to say we took a philosophical shift. So what kind of philosophical shifts do you think have already taken place and do you think will continue to take place in Overwatch 2 that we maybe need to prepare ourselves as a community for right now?
I think that the game is already in this deathmatch state that they're headed towards. Like currently the meta in ranked is already deathmatchy. But even though I want the game to be more deathmatchy in a way in Overwatch 2, I don't want it to be deathmatchy in the way it is ranked right now. Because the way it is in ranked right now is a really boring example of how the deathmatchy feel of the game can be. I want the game to be deathmatchy based on outplaying people constantly, like back in the day with Genji and Cass, like Samito said. I want to even give that example, but he straight up went for that back, like way back in this podcast. And I like it when I can outplay the enemies based on my, movements or my ability usage, which I don't feel like exists anymore in this game. That is a big issue, and I think the big philosophical, big change of this game, how it feels back in the day, you had hero hero swaps and comp swaps all the time. Even in pro play, it would swap comps to counter different comps, but now it's not good.
Because AoE healing dominates the mid fight.
Yeah, it just dominates. And why would I play anything else but Brick Zen when Brick Zen is just so easy to play and so dominant? There's no point. I would just stick with it for the rest of the game. And if we're playing Brick Zen, I might as well just be running Hog, and like the thing and just run around the map. Like a lot of these heroes, what they do is they do not play around the map, running around, outplaying you. They just wait.
I'll be listening.
They just wait. They're like a spider. Like I queue up comp, I go against a Roadhog, he's just sitting in a tunnel for the whole game. That's all he does. He just sits in a tunnel and hooks you whenever you come through. And if you go main, you die to Brick Zen. That's the boring. It is a deathmatch game feel, but it's just boring. I want the deathmatch to be like Tracer v Tracer running around, just blinking around. I want Lucio's like riding, wanting.
Setting up engages and duels in a very smart
Yes,
way.
I want
And
duels
it's
to happen.
basically all of that. But when, and again, I say this every time SVV, and I'm so sorry, but it's never been changed. Like Brig at our level of play just completely removes all of that from the game because the heal radius is the heal volume. Everyone, if you haven't seen SVV, maybe you could pull up the tweet or something. I don't know. It's 4 times Lucio's, 4 times plus. Anyone that's in that range is also in pack range, so you can Mercy pocket that is uncounterable. Anyone, Mercy plus Lucio combined 70 health per second. Any targets in that range. If it's an Ana, as Bogur said, if he's juggling a Zen in a corner and they're playing Ana Zen, he can body block the Ana heals, like, or he could shield the Ana heals or DM the Ana heals. Like there are interactions and cooldowns in the game that can allow for counterplay, even though those heroes have very strong healing. But with Brig, it's literally not doable. And when that happens, like this is something that I'd actually request from Blizzard, just as someone, and I think everyone in this call would agree, who's played this game for 5 or 6 years and loves the game, and we're approaching our last, assuming, months of 6v6. Consider disabling Brig from comp just for 6 months, just so that we can enjoy. Like she is the one that is gatekeeping a lot right now, and I would just, just as a favor, I doubt it would ever happen, but even the Brig mains don't like it. Like it's just not fun. I think it'd be really fun to have just the last 6 months or however long of Overwatch, whatever X time frame it might be, because God knows when Overwatch will actually come out. It would be nice to have it be the original
Sorry,
game.
I just want to clarify that, because I think what you're saying is she should be disabled from comp, not just
not quick
entirely
play.
in the game.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, no. Just
because again, when you say that, I know you know that, but I know that people listening will think that you mean
just from competitive. Yeah, just from competitive. Yeah, no, the hero doesn't need to be deleted, but it just be fun.
Take a lot of risks right now with Overwatch
like what? We have nothing to lose. Like why not? Why not do what people like?
You have so much time where you won't be doing anything for Overwatch 1. You might as well just take a lot of risks. Do something wild. Experiment. This is your chance to really experiment. Like
it's better than doing nothing and having it be what it is right now. Like everyone hates it. Yeah, everyone hates it.
People are gonna come back to try out the changes. They're gonna talk shit about you, including me. I'll tell you did a fucking shitty job at whatever balance patch you did. But deep inside, I'll be happy that at least we got a balance patch.
Yeah.
I want them to experiment. Maybe turn off Brigitte. Maybe remove it. Make it so that you can play only one shield. Fuck it. Just enable go nuts. Like you are not gonna be making any meaningful changes, and you can actually test
and it's not like it's going to matter long term anyway. It's not going to matter.
You're changing the game completely anyway. So why just test out really wild ideas you had for Overwatch 2
and see what specific things were breaking the game and making it meta? Because I'm telling you right now, if you take Brig out of competitive, the game would probably get 4 times better immediately, which is incredible to say. Like I'd stake everything on it. That's my biggest long term bet I've ever made in this game.
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, I'm not going to get myself started on this is essentially hero bans, but what I would say is that to defend the devs here, I think there's 2 things. This is one. Firstly, guys, by the way, Flats had to take a quick call, so he's just busy, but he's still listening to us. So, ! Love to Flats. There's 2 things here. One is that there's limited resources, right? We have to bear that in mind. I know people don't like hearing it, but they are a limited team. We want Overwatch 2, we want it ASAP. And yes, you might say, well, removing Brig is really simple. Just click the button, remove Brig from comp. But it can't just be a decision like that, right? It sets a precedent, and they have to think about how that works. They have to think about the balance, blah, blah, blah. So that's one thing. And the other thing is...
but they're not thinking for Overwatch 1, so who cares, right? Like,
yeah, okay. I mean, it's hard for them to acknowledge... Sorry, go ahead.
I know you want to defend the devs, and I know dev work is hard because I study programming. Obviously, I know the game dev, but programming is so hard. It is so difficult, especially making games. It is insane. Like people don't realize how insane the fact that video games exist. Like there is just ones and zeros, and it is crazy. I won't get into it, but it's crazy. I know it takes a lot of work but you already have all of the work laid down for you. Like for example, in Overwatch 2, you want to test out,
about that.
Winston being able to wall climb. Well, it's just you can even probably do it with the workshop and just make a little animation. That's it. That's over. Like I know they're really busy for Overwatch 2, but you can just have one guy. You can go to him and say, "Well, I really want to test this thing about what if Cass had 2 guns at once? That would be crazy, and you can like go and enable it for him. Or like, what if Cass had 12 bullets?
No fan the hammer,
bullets?
akimbo revolvers.
Yeah, or like even something simpler. What if you had no fan the hammer? You can just, doesn't take much time. Do you have a workshop? People in workshop can do it like almost immediately. Even without workshop, you can just disable these. I'm not talking about, I want you to from the game. I want you to try stuff, really, like just try test. That's like you say that, but at the same time we're doing these experimental patches where the streamers are giving ideas and they actually take the time to program stuff or like do the things to make it work. And I'm sure that at least 1 or 2 people can implement some of these changes, or like fuck all of that. You can just start implementing. I'm sorry, okay. You can start implementing some of the core choices you want to make for Overwatch 2 into Overwatch 1 just to get people used to it. You can easily disable 1 tank and implement the changes very easily and see what people think. Because, the beta is the beta, of course, but I'm sure that many people want to get used to playing with 1 tank way before the big change becomes...
It kind of defeats the purpose of the whole launch thing.
No, it doesn't, because you're not releasing the soldier... different engine, releasing this and that. You're just showcasing to people that it's not as bad as they think, because a lot of people hate that change and they're like, we really believe in our core concept of having 5v5, and then we want to show you why we believe in it, to prove to you that you can believe in us.
Well, here's the thing though, here's the counterpoint, because I think sometimes the community, I mean every internet community is like this, every gaming community is like this, and we're not unique. But a lot of times we can be quite ungrateful about the stuff we do get. And I include myself in this. I'm not immune from this. I rant and rave plenty. But, let's say you do what you say, Bogur, and okay, well, we made 5v5. Yeah, but you didn't put in all the supplementary changes that are going to make 5v5 good, right? Like all the things that come with it, the reworks, the new heroes, the map design, the things that actually make it like work. If you don't give that, the community gets half a version. They're like, this version is garbage. when the community's like, this is dog shit. You guys suck. You don't know what you're doing.
The community will always complain no matter what.
They will complain no matter what.
Right.
They will always complain in every game.
Well, there's the flip side, though. That's also the reason why not to give them anything. Because it's like, fuck them. They're going to complain regardless. So let's just wait.
I think it's about listening to the right people, not the general
who are the right
public.
people?
That's the hard part.
That is the hard
part. That is the hard part.
But there's
100%.
no right people. There's no right people. Because I think I'm right, because I'm the God Emperor ranked, the best Winston player ever. But that's in my head. Like, there's like thousands of other players who are playing casually the game. They're like, why the fuck does Winston have 1000 HP and insta-kill everyone? If I was the right person I would just make Winston Giga OP, and then he would roll ranked, and people would be like, they won't be having fun. But if we actually focus on people in lower elos, and they're like, in lower elos, people are stupid, and in higher elos, people are stupid as well. Everyone's stupid, because everyone thinks about their own personal little bubble of ranked. You can't keep listening to one party or the second part. You need to. It's a democracy.
There's some people that see big picture. I feel like
yes, there are some people.
I want to take Flats here, because Flats has been wanting to say something.
So
say it.
I was still listening. Before I get into this part, I was listening a little bit beforehand. I want to say I was one of the lucky creators that was selected to do the experimental thing, and I hope I don't get in any trouble here. And Andy will probably pop in at some point to either scold me or be like, "No, it's okay." I actually asked that exact question. So they realistically leveled with me and were like, them coming back to work on these experimental cards takes the team away from working on Overwatch 2. So every time we did one of those experimental, it pushed it back a little bit further. And they acknowledge that. However, though, they feel the pressure of Overwatch 1 not doing too hot and the community being angry, right? They want to like keep us kind of pushing, and like it makes me really sad a little bit on the inside, because I have talked extensively with Andy, Jody, other people that just want to listen in on from the dev team about things like, having something to keep pushing on is going to be much better than having nothing to keep pushing on. Because this is my own personal take here. Overwatch 1 is gone. Like, they're not going to work on it anymore. Like, I think it's very apparent that the last balance patch was August, and we got like 1 or 2 experimental changes that came in. Like, the game is done. Like, they do not wish to work on it anymore. Like, 5v5 is going to be very different. We all acknowledge that. They have all this cool stuff they want to implement it, and they want to do it right the first time, and they want it to be a wow factor. If they give us a half-assed one, it's not going to work. Like, that people are just going to, I'm not going to acknowledge it. It has to be all in one go. They've already committed. They put all their eggs in one basket. They are betting on it. That is what they're going for, and it's too late to turn back. It's what they're going to go with. I will say on the experimental thing, I think that kind of changed for the second one, but for the first one, we were actually very limited on things we could add because that took too much time to like do, right? Like, it couldn't have new animations and stuff. That's why like some things are a little bit scuffed, like shatter damage would actually, if you shattered on the Rhine, like if you touched him with the shatter, even if he blocked it, he would still fall over. Like there was like things that didn't work properly, but like they were okay with it because it wasn't supposed to be a competitive balance patch. It's supposed to be like a fun April Fool's. There's a tournament. It's an event. It's supposed to like keep interest kind of chugging and hold the player base over, right? Like the drop event realistically is to hold the player base and the streamers over. The Lunar New Year was to hold people over. Like they immediately knew that was going to backfire. Like they ahead of time were like, hey, like right as it launched, like there's not as many legendaries because we're working on tons more skins for the rest of the year, and it's way more than we've ever done before. So like you have to level with us. And like of course they knew about this Overwatch 2 like beta, right? Like they knew it was going to come in April. No one knew, right? Like they didn't tell anybody. But like we could all allude to it was coming, right? Like they were like, "Hey, it's coming in the future." So they are self-aware, right? But as much as it pains me to like kind of have to say this, like I got to level with you. Overwatch 1 is like we all know is toast. It's not getting anything. Like no matter what. Like it doesn't matter how much we say they should or want to or should.
It's done.
It's not happening, period. So it's like I would rather look towards the future and like want to guide what's wrong with Overwatch 1 and fix that and like be able to be a helping hand and be like, hey, these problems, which we've talked about heroes, talked about design philosophy, talked about like map philosophy, etc. Those are very good things to talk about, but implementing them on Overwatch 1 is just over. Like it's just that ship has sailed and they know it's sailed and like they're cutting their losses on it and they're full go Overwatch 2. They want that to be their number one, and I hate to say it, you know what I mean? But it's like, it's kind of the truth, and I think kind of everyone's accepted it and known that at this point. But I don't think that, adding all these crazy things is that good of an idea because that will take away more people from Overwatch 2 and pushes it back even longer. Now, they should have originally had a team for Overwatch 1 and had new people, for both. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they should have a larger team, but they're understaffed. Like, nobody says this, but I think it's kind of a clear fact that they're understaffed. Like, they need to expand the team. And that should have been for the first thing they did. So Overwatch 1 didn't get left in the dust. But that's history now. It's done.
I agree with you, and I was wrong. But I want to say one thing. When Overwatch 2 beta comes out, and when things happen, something that Blizzard likes doing is they showcase changes, and a lot of the times, no matter how much we scream at them and shout at them and we beg them, they don't change stuff that we want them to. It has happened so even the cast row in the air, we said 10,000 times, don't add it. They still added it. I don't get it. I don't want the same thing to happen with Overwatch 2 beta. Okay, I agree with you. I was wrong. You're right about the whole concept about Overwatch 1 not getting updates. I've given up about it a long time ago. It's just wishful thinking.
I hate it.
Overwatch 2 beta comes out around, when they start releasing stuff and we say this is not okay, it doesn't feel good, I really hope they actually listen and they try to change things. Not because they think they're right, because Blizzard always thinks they're right, but because the community together, it's not like, especially the cast row, there was almost nobody who said, yes, this is a great change. I wanted to react to our criticisms, not just mine, yours, but the community as a whole, and do something about it. I don't want the same, because why did all of this go the way it did? Because they just did not listen to us. Like when we wanted things to change in a certain way, when people begged for change, what was the point of experimental and PTR back in the day if most of the changes still went live no matter what? Like that is my feeling, you know. That's I don't know if I'm biased in a way, but my feeling was no matter what we said about experimental or PTR, most of the time the changes would go live anyways, unless the changes were absolutely place, like the Morgue of Fate cleansing everything, which is ridiculous.
Don't get me started on that.
Wait,
Don't
do
get
you
me
remember,
started on
the
that.
one,
Unless it's
the one worse
absolute-
than that? Do you remember the one where she could fade while she was shattered? That really brief period where she could fade when she was stunned.
Like unless
that
it's
was
something
interesting.
so ridiculous that there's no way, like they don't change it.
It's
they
just
will
less
not listen to
counterplay.
us.
It's
And
less neutrality.
I just want them to listen. This is what I want from Blizzard. Blizzard devs are amazing developers. No question about it. No matter how much I talk shit about them, they're amazing game devs. The magic they can create with just zeros and coding and like the art and everything,
top
like
tier.
the work they put together to make this amazing work of art, because games are a work of art. The music, everything, the design, the art, the music, the gameplay, the everything, and the way it flows together, it's amazing. They're amazing developers. But I just wish that for once, for Overwatch 2 to be successful, for any of their future games to be successful, they need to follow the footsteps of other game devs where they listen. They actually listen. Yes, there's characters that will always be broken. The meta will never be fixed and it will never be balanced. But when Apex released Seer, as you said, and everyone went up and said no, and they were like, okay, we're fixing it. Or like whenever Valorant makes something really stupid and they're like, no, don't do that, and they're like, okay, all
It's a gotta
right,
comp.
because they understand that the player base are gonna be playing their game and they're not having fun and they need to do something about it, and they react to it. But once you stop listening to me, I feel like I'm a child again and my parents don't care about me, and it's so annoying because I can scream at you and I can shout and I can scream, I can be nice, I can beg, I can scream, I can throw insults. No matter what I do, you never do anything about it, and then you're gonna throw your arms up in the air and say, why is my game dying? Because you're not listening to us as people, as individuals. You're not even taking into consideration our opinions because you are the devs, and that is so egoistical because you might be the devs, but we are the ones playing your game, and without us, the gamers, without the conquerors, without players, you will not have success. Just like you, without you guys, will also suffer a lot. We need to work together.
The cycle of life needs to be all
Yes.
all cylinders need to
Yeah.
be firing.
Yes.
There's
I
just so go ahead. You
go ahead.
actually go.
No, you're,
Sam,
no,
you go, Sam.
no, you're good. You're good. You go.
I was gonna say there's two things I have to, again, as the host, I have to add. One is that who is the community? Like it's a loaded term. I have to just say that like there is no unified community, right? Like we are a community as content creators, like so we talk to each other a lot and we interact on Twitter and Reddit and whatever. But even that is just a small section, right? So like who is the
Yeah.
we? I look, I know what you're saying is fair, but I just have to say these
I
things.
know. I
that-
know.
One,
I'm
who's the
sorry.
community? Two, part of game deving is to ignore your community sometimes, because
Yes.
sometimes they will mold when you release stuff regardless, but they just need time to get used to it. And that's
Yes.
kind of what's happening with 5v5 as well, where some people are molding, but they just actually need to try it first.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
But the issue here is
But you're correct.
right.
But you're
No.
correct.
Listen, the issue here is you're right about this. There's no one party, but you need to take into that is the job of a game dev. They need to take in the criticism of all parties and decide on their own which is the correct way. Because if you just ignore the casual player base, you're gonna lose a lot of players, and if you ignore the try-hard player base and the people that really love your games, you're gonna suffer long term as well. You need to make that is hard. It's hard to be a game dev, no question about it. You need to make the right decision. But when you don't listen to both parties, no matter what, and you think you're always right, that's where the issue arises. Because League and Valorant and Apex, they don't listen to all of their community like players. They're not listening to everyone because people have really stupid ideas, and if they did, their game would die, and that is very normal. but they still listen to some of them. And there's some issues that are universally accepted as issues. You know, like Brigitte. I know it's getting
It's
bad,
got to be
but
universal at
No,
this
like
point.
you're
it is
100% right. I think they would
universal.
be. I think
It's
they would be also, and they kind of
universal.
did acknowledge that
And
they have not done with that, right? That's what I just wanted to caveat. You're right. You're right, Bogur. You're right. Like they
and,
have not done that.
and it's not about taking responsibility after 3 years or changing the core issues after 4 years. It's about changing the things as they happen. You need to react fast so it doesn't fester into a bigger problem. Because if I today go and I forget to clean my dishes, wash my dishes, and there's mold growing in it, in 2 weeks it's gonna grow more mold, and in 5 weeks it's gonna become disgusting. In 2 months I'm gonna get infected with some new disease. Clean that shit, and in a year I might just fucking die because I didn't clean my dishes. I know it's a bit extreme, but you get the concept. If you actually
Yeah, no,
tough
no,
one.
no, no, no.
dishes,
I know.
mold
Like,
happens.
sorry,
I
ask
I
something,
hate to
SCB?
interrupt you. Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah.
Samito.
So on more also on topic with what Flats was saying before we just kind of like cut over here about cutting away from Overwatch 2 and the lack of content and how like Overwatch 1 is burned and listening to the community. A couple things. One, you don't have to continuously pay attention to your high level community as long as you don't break the skill to reward curve of the game and fair play, the function and the concept of fair play. And to define that, how much if a hero requires more of the player, it should at the highest level play therefore give more value than a hero that requires less of the player. And there's two different curves you see. Like a low skill floor character that's easy, you kind of see it pan up and fade out as it gets higher up in the ranks on a chart. But a harder hero to play curve will kind of go up this way, if that makes sense. Like this, you won't be able to play well at the skill floor. So like as the ranks go higher, the hero gets more value. As long as you stick to those core principles, high level play will always be healthy and be functional. The reason why it's not is because we continuously added heroes that did not do that. Brigitte, for example, is the biggest outlier to that. A couple others, I'm not going to get into it now. But to add on what Flaps was saying, at least when I was just joking about like taking Brig out of the game, the reason why that I feel like would be feasible is because it's not actually adding content, it's removing content, which would be much easier to do than like wasting development time. I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to disable a
That's
hero.
still a decision, though. Like that decision has
It's a
to be made
decision, but it's
somewhere,
not hard to
and then-
do. I'm not saying they should do it. I'm not trying to be like, oh, you guys
Yeah,
suck.
yeah,
You should
yeah.
really break. But like to say that would be as difficult as making an experimental, I don't think is a fair statement.
No.
That being said, though, moving kind of forward here before I accidentally sidetrack myself big time. Oh my God, what was the question? Not again. It's the Crustables, man. The peanut butter goes in one ear and out the other. I don't even know what's going. Or one. Jeez. Wow. I'm not on it today. Holy cow.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
But
Flats,
what was
did
it?
you
Sorry,
have-
actually, what was your point?
Yeah,
Sorry, I
we
didn't
were
wanna...
just talking about, the changes. It was a real spiral. We were talking about adding changes now, and then we started talking about whether the devs listen or not. Game deving is hard. And...
they listen, but like the question is, what can they actually act on? And right now, for better or worse, this is the hand we're dealt. We're in this situation. I think going forward, and I don't think that a lot of the 5v5 stuff should come now. I think that we have to wait for the beta, but as long as the betas continuously come out, whenever they do, I think that people, especially, I think people will be.
We have to be patient now.
Yes,
now is the one time, like actually, we literally have to go. Okay, now
and I
wait.
think it will pay off if people are just a little bit more patient, because you finally. This is not like last year. We're not seeing results. Companies in flux. We don't know what the hell is going on. There's a timeline.
Mhm.
They're firing all cylinders. Can we talk about the owl pickups this season that have been awesome, by the way, too, with Packing 10 and Brad coming back, as well
We're
as
also
Sean has
changing
done a great job.
companies the way it's operating as well.
Yeah, this is everything that needed to happen, right? That we kind of talked about, like over the last 4 years. We're like, look, if we keep going on this path, there's gonna be a blow up. Not sure how it's gonna happen. Unfortunately, we lost Jeff Kaplan. It turns out there was much more going on in the company. Luckily not. See, it really upsets me. I'm not going to lie here. Sorry to go off topic. It really upsets me to see the community make jokes about the lawsuit at the Blizzard team about the Overwatch team as to why like they're not like getting content out for them when they had absolutely nothing to do with that. That is not like, look, I'm one of the harshest people when it comes to talking about what the devs have done, but you have to be fair to them. Like one thing that I think everyone on this podcast does a great job of doing is being fair and being reasonable. And like I ask that the community do the same, though who listens to me? I mean, I don't know, maybe we all say it, but I think people are kind of in their own ships and their own opinions, and I don't think that I don't think that that'll change. But I am looking forward to. I am very much looking forward to this comeback story.
Yep.
As someone who cares about this game a lot, I know you guys do too. I
want people to realize.
I would like to say this real quick. Fact. I know my opinion has been neutral. As of yesterday, I am all in. Chips on the table. Overwatch 2 is gonna be a fucking home run. All in.
Yep.
All the chips on the table. They're hitting a grand slam. Be ready.
And I mean, let's be clear, because I get always annoyed with like the comments that are like, oh, like what happened to December? You were so happy, or what happened to last week when you were so critical? Let me break it down for you if you're having a hard time understanding. When you get new information to a situation, it can change your opinion. What we have now received is information to create a better judgment. So I swear to God, I better not see any, oh, but like last week, dude, you were pissed at Double Shield and you were like contemplating like what you were going to do for the next few months because no one had heard anything. Okay, well, you just said what I said in your sentence. Like we hadn't heard anything in a long time. Like we're all struggling. Now we have a date and a time.
There's a great
we wait for.
Really quickly, I just want to say there's a really great quote by, I believe it's John Maynard Keynes, the economist, and this quote is simply, "When the facts change, I change." And I think that's what will sum up what you were saying.
Mm-hmm. It's how it is, and it's like, I really, and this is where I think Sam has a great point, is that we need to be fair to devs, to Blizz, to anyone, because we can 1 week be like, okay, this is terrible, like what's happening, and be critical. And then we find out what's happening and be like, okay, we're good. That's literally
completely reasonable. That's completely
how humans work. Like, right? Like, let's come out of our Twitter sphere bubble for a second and be like, like if you handed us a test, right? We're in school, you hand us a test, and I've never seen the info on it, right? I'm gonna go, I don't know anything on this, and then all of a sudden you teach me everything that's on that test, and then hand me the same test. I now have the info to answer the questions. Guess what? It's like the same thing. We didn't have any answers. Now we got the answers. Now we can move forward. Like what? Like it's very simple concepts, but the frustrations of the past are still valid. But I get always so sick of like the gotchas, like, oh man, you were so mad last week at the game and how I wasn't doing anything and how we hadn't heard anything and now you're a shill. Like, no, like I used my ears and my eyes and my brain and I gathered more information, saw the information and processed the information like a normal human adult being. Like, what are you on about? Like,
intelligence, what is that?
Yeah, no intelligent life sometimes. It's spotted. I swear.
Sometimes we act like single-celled organisms, man. I'm telling you.
People just assume that streamers have one opinion, like one character trait. That's it. Like, because they've watched too much anime. In an anime, one character is just one thing, and they assume that streamers are the same thing because they're like, oh, my stream Samito isn't angry this week. What the fuck? Why am I? Like, okay. Sam,
this can't be your stream. You're happy. What the fuck?
Like, you won.
Shit. Like, I can't. Like, you think I'm raging at the game 24/7? I'll let you know. It's more like 23/6. Okay, come on.
I take a break.
Come on, man.
I want to take something that Flat said earlier, which is, we're looking to the future, and I think that should be what I would advise people to do. Is kind of, this is what I would say. We've lived through like 3 years of torture, basically. We've lived through like 3 years. Like what they say is the worst form of torture is when they completely deprive you of sensory information, right? Where they cover your eyes and ears and you can't see anything. We've lived that.
Plus COVID. That plus COVID. The two things at once. Always here.
We're finally there. The horizon is finally here. Now is not the time to be mad. That's what I feel. You might be like, no, now is still the time to be mad, SVB. And I'm not saying let all mistakes be forgotten. But now is the time. It's right there. It's within our... Chill out now. And to that note, I want to ask you guys, because we've been talking for a while, and I'm respectful of your time. I know you guys got shit to do. What are you looking for or looking forward to in the beta? One thing that you are looking forward to that you know tangibly is coming, or, just in Overwatch 2. And one thing that you're like, I hope they do this too. So I'm going to start with Flats.
What is one thing I know tangibly that it should be coming and one thing I'm hopeful for?
Yeah.
One thing I know that's coming is 5v5.
Leaks. NDA leak. NDA.
One thing I know that's coming is 5v5, right? I know that it's going to be a single tank experience, right? This isn't my hope yet, but like I know that in a single tank format, it's very different than a two tank format. Theoretically, it should be easier to balance because you can be more forgiving with something like a shield. You can be more forgiving with a health pool, more forgiving with certain things. So I believe, from what I know, that the tank experience should be very different than what it is. And I don't want to use the word enjoyable yet because I haven't got a chance to try. But what I'm saying is, I want to say that I think that it's not going to be the same experience we currently have. And something that tank players love right now is that synergy with tanks and controlling the flow of the game and whatnot. And that's totally well and good. But as a tank player, I also realize that I'm in the minority with that and that the tank experience is not fun with its current state and it hasn't been fun for a long time and needs an overhaul. And I believe that 5v5 will be an overhaul. What do I hope for the game? I hope for a few things. I hope that this commitment for communication is real. I hope that we're going to get constant updates, whether they're working on heroes, working on updates, working on maps. They've created new concepts for game modes. Whatever it is, we hear about it. I also hope that, that being said, we want to grow this game as much as possible. And the answer to that is free to play. I hope that this game goes free to play. I hope if it does go free to play, we have incentives not only for competitive, hardcore players who want to grind and play the game every day, but also things for the casual player every day. Whether that's simple challenges, you know, like the current drop events we have, where it's like you play 9 games and you get a cool skin, to something that's a lot more challenging, like reaching level 100 on a battle pass to get a really cool item, or top 500 rewards, or you know, if you ranked up, like even something as simple as imagine you got some type of reward for hitting a new skill level, right? Like, you know, like something the game gave you that like, hey, congrats, you went from gold to plat. Here, have this. Like, this is a huge accomplishment for you, you know? And you only get it once, right? And it's like, but it's something that like shows you, hey, you've improved. In Apex, for example, you don't get trails until you hit diamond. Then you get a diamond trail, then you get a master's trail, and then you get what's the predator trail, which is the top 500 or top 750 trail. If by finishing at that, do they always use them anymore? No, not really. It's kind of died off. But I remember when I got into Apex for a month, I really wanted the pred trail. I wanted the master's trail. I wanted even the diamond trail. I wanted to have that item. That was really cool to me as a new player and someone who wants to get better and to improve. And I bet, you know, not only for myself, because I finished diamond for one of the seasons, when I got the trail, I felt pretty good. You know, would I know I was the best player? No. But I felt that I accomplished something and I had finished at a level that was like a respectable thing.
Yeah.
Being able to give players feedback, making it open, free to play, will not only increase the player base, it increases the amount of people who watch content, consume content, watch Overwatch League, and also keep those hungry customers fed is the key to making sure that we have success. Because whether or not balance, you know, balance is a hard thing to come by. I totally understand that. But as long as we're getting content and we're getting fed, we're all going to succeed. That's my big hope.
Like it. I like it. I'm gonna take it to Bogur next.
I know that Overwatch 2, from what I've seen, will have good map design. And I've said it multiple times today, but I'm a big supporter of good map design. And I think it is the key to fun Overwatch experience. Good maps are the key. And we've talked about it a lot, so there's no point in actually talking too much about it. But if they have good maps, they're gonna have a fun experience as long as their characters aren't obviously broken, you know, and unfun to play. But even then, you know, like if I can use the map to my advantage to level the playing field, that feels good because I use my surrounding area and what I have to outplay my enemy in some form, and they then can use their surrounding area to outplay me, and it adds dimensions and depth to an otherwise boring single layer combat, which is, oh, they're on the other side of the map, I die, goodbye, you know. So that's really fun, that I really like that they're adding. And things that I really want them to add is or like for Overwatch 2 to have, I want Overwatch 2 to overhaul ranked in some form, because I think ranked in the way it is, outside of the core experience of the gameplay experience, I think it's just badly designed. I don't like the 2-month seasons. They feel meaningless. There's no point to them. I don't like the fact that seasons themselves are just they're the same thing every single season. There's no in between waiting time. I kind of enjoyed 1 or 2 days of having no rank, so do something about the rank, that was kind of fun. It kind of signified there's a new ranked season coming, but now season ends, new one starts, changes.
No
It's
difference.
2 months. 2 months is boring. It's boring. 2 months. You don't have time. Like in League, you have like so much time to grind it out. An entire year, I can take a break. I don't want to sit there and like, oh my god, any second now the season ends. Like I genuinely feel like I did placements, and then I feel like just like this. The season is over. Okay, all right. And then I really hate the way they treat high level ranked now, which I think is so wrong. There's no decay, which I think is super bad. I think they should bring back decay. I don't think they should reward people getting 4.6 and sitting there AFK. That's not fun. That's not good. I want the rank to be more competitive.
Stakes.
Yeah, I want players that are good at the game to be forced to play the game outside of their smurfs. There's gonna be less smurfing if you have decay. Because people are gonna have to play on their main accounts to keep up their SR, and that means I get to play against pro players more often because they're gonna queue up more often because they need to play more often to keep up that high SR, and brings in more competitiveness. I really enjoy the whole competitive aspect of me trying to get a higher SR of some other tank player, and it was kind of fun during Crush Meta. It was kind of fun. Tank players, we constantly kept butting heads, trying to get higher SR than each other and getting top 10, top 1, top 2, top 3, and it was fun. It was enjoyable, and there was no decay like this last time it happened. But if they bring back decay, it's gonna be really fun, because I don't want to see another Sigma main camping 4.7 for the rest of the season. That's so boring. Like I can't even I can't get there on fucking Reinhardt and Winston. He's just sitting there camping it. And I just want seasons to be meaningful. Like as Vlad said, if you had a reward for the season that's outside of just some random spray that nobody cares about, something, you can add anything really. I want it to be more meaningful. I want seasons to be longer, and I want the end of each season, like maybe not an MMR reset, of course not, but I want it to be kind
there's
of
placements. There's MMR reset at the start of placements every season. What do you mean?
Yeah, we get to 3.9, which is so boring. I hate the way it works
We
right
did
now
that very wrong.
because I play 5 games, which I don't give a shit about. I hate the
They're
experience.
useless.
of
It should just put you there. It just wastes everyone's time.
I hate it. I dread the experience of playing Overwatch. That's an obvious thing. But I dread the experience of me playing 5 useless games for 1 hour of my life. No, it's more
It's
than
more
1
than
hour.
that. It's about 2
gonna
hours.
wait in
It's
queue for
about
20
2
minutes
hours for each
game.
role.
It's so
each role.
mind-numbing. You might as well. But I don't. I want them to like in Apex, near each new season, you start off like 3 ranks below, lower, and you need to climb back up, which I think is fine. Like people are like, oh, the higher rank GM players are gonna shit on the lower SR people. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's every normal game has it. No, like people are still
all those ranks
There's-
get kicked
there's
down
lots
too,
of
though.
solutions.
So like it's they all get
yeah,
moved down anyways.
and even if like higher SR people are in new games for like week or 2, it doesn't matter. They're just gonna climb back up instantly.
And it's better to lose to players who are actually better than you than having games tossed because no one cares. And I think people forget about that.
And I just want people like I know it's been said to death, but I am so tired of having people in my games that have played the game for the last time 3 years ago and are still in my game somehow. I am 4.5 and I get in a game with someone who's like, oh, guys, I haven't played this game since 10th season. I was like, what? And I click on his profile. Last time he played was season 23. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here? You haven't played this game in 2 years.
It's not even his fault either, though. That's not
Yeah,
their
It's
fault.
not
Like,
his
just-
fault either.
like, you can't,
Exactly.
like, what do you do? You're just mad now. You're just
The
like,
game's
Yeah,
designed to fuck you, yeah. And don't
Not-
forget,
well,
you're
there's-
forgetting
yeah,
something,
yeah.
Bogur. You're forgetting
What?
one other point about ranked.
What? Come on. What is it, Samito?
Stacking.
Oh, stacking. I think I've always been a believer. Like back in the day, I really hated stacking in a way, but I see why it's
least
good.
3.
I always at least 3 seconds. But ultimately, I know it's maybe too much to ask for. But I really believe that if we have the the like a good player base, a big strong player base, I really think that having separate queues for like one solo or duo queue and then like stacking is a really good idea. And I don't know why they don't implement it. Because
How
if
about like Valorant?
like yeah, exactly. If I want to go in, because I really like playing solo queue, I don't like. I just enjoy the experience of playing alone most of the time. But I still want to play with my friends sometimes. But I like it. But and it feels really unfair if I queue up against 6 players that are Overwatch League level, and it's just they shit on me because I can't do anything about it because they're playing together and they know how to play together. But if you just make separate queues, you can have the teams or the streamers keep facing against other teams and streamers and make the experience really competitive. Meanwhile, separating the queue for the solo queue, dual queue players that just want to enjoy the game without like still playing the game competitively in a ranked setting, but without having to face 6 NYXL players at the same time. I don't know why
they can only duo. By the way, I think there's OWL players are only contractually allowed to do trios back in the day.
Yeah,
So-
but what I'm trying to say is I don't know.
I get what
why
you're
they
saying.
I don't know why they didn't have a separate queue back in the day. Because I like instead of removing just stacking outright, you could have made 2 separate queues. But even
Well,
if
give me
you
one
can't make
queue.
like even if you make one queue, just make it at least to triple stack. Like so there's some like the
Do you know what
best
Valorant does? Are you familiar with it?
What?
So Valorant
really
makes it
smart.
so you cannot queue. So you can solo queue, you can duo queue, you can trio queue, you cannot 4 stack, and you can 5 stack. So if you 5 stack, you have to wait till you find a game with another 5 stack. But you can 1, 2, and 3 queue. So you never had the 4 queue experience where it's 4 players playing with each other, and that last guy on your team gets bullied because like they're the one guy who's not in your group. So everyone's just like, oh fuck that random, fuck that guy. But even on the other side, there's not stacks versus a bunch of solo queues. The worst you can play against is a 3 stack.
Yes, and
They've also sorry,
yeah,
Flash, just to elaborate. They've also implemented like they've been messing around with some very complicated like rank actual adjustment stuff when you do stack, like because they allow you to stack people of a quite a lower rank than you, but it drastically affects how much SR you get and stuff. So they've been messing around with a lot of really complicated stuff that they've gone into detail to that I can't really quite explain here. But basically, I think to summarize what we're saying is there's ideas. There's different ideas we can mess around with. I think clearly this doesn't work, basically, or it's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not good enough.
Yeah,
What we have right now, it doesn't work.
What my entire point boils down to, because I like being that 1%. I like being really competitive in the game, and I like pushing my limits. That's what I enjoy in games. I don't like the casual experience unless it's a single player game. If I want a casual experience, I love single player games, and I'm gonna put the casual experience in these games because these games give me a story or something memorable. But in ranked games, online games, I want to push my limits, and I think these changes are really important to reward people that want to push their limits and get a good challenge, because I want them to like make it rewarding in a way to grind rank, because Valorant and Apex and League wouldn't be as successful without ranked. It's just the truth. Like
ranked is what drives games.
ranked
Period.
is what
Competitiveness drives
Yep.
the most successful products
Even
in the world
casual
for a
players,
reason.
they play ranked.
Yeah, because they look up to the top like that. There's a reason why the Super Bowl is the most viewed TV thing in North America, maybe even worldwide. There's a reason why the Olympics are also viewed so much. It's because competitiveness, even amongst a casual audience, is what people want to see. So having that is essential to success.
Yes,
So-
and when I go and watch Overwatch League and I get excited, and the core ranked experience in Overwatch, like without like a set team and high level, is just garbage. It doesn't make me want to play the game. It just makes me want to go and see more of Overwatch League in a way. Like I'm not like Overwatch League is ultimately like it's esports and everything, but they're ultimately advertising their own game to make people want to play it. Like, I think that's how it should work. Esports advertise their own game so more people play it and brings a lot of hype. Because for example, why was Dota so successful in a way and so famous and for a long time? Because they kept having this insane international that everyone talked about. I feel like it's such a
massive
great
prize pool.
Yeah,
right?
it's
Was
a
that,
great.
It's
I
still
even
the-
I would
it's
hear about
still
this.
the
I never
biggest
played
prize
Dota.
pool.
It's like it was one of the first games to actually bring a good prize pool for a tournament. And I think it was millions. I think last year was like 40 million and the winners of the tournament each get like 1 million. First prize like 15 million or 10 million, which is insane incentive, and it really brings a lot of it's a good talking point for the game. Did you see that in 40 million? Crazy. I want to play the game. I want to be like that guy. I want to grind the game. And now you're inspiring more people to grind the game, and it's just a never-ending cycle. But when that core experience is just unrewarding and garbage and just
Like,
not enjoyable,
watching real quick,
Yeah.
watching like Effect and like Dante and Pine in like season 1 of Owl, dude, like seeing those guys pop off, like Architect when Shock first picked him up, like that was some of the most. I remember walking around at night, like in my hometown neighborhood before I got my own apartment. I was deciding like leaving Minecraft to stream or go play. I almost went to school at Clemson to play Overwatch for them. Actually, that was like one place I wanted to go. I was talking to my buddy Cersei, and I remember walking around at 2 in the morning in the freezing cold in my khakis, just thinking. And I decided, like, kind of at that moment, I was like, I don't want to give up on this.
Yeah.
I saw these guys and their stories. Crusher 99. Like,
Yeah,
the
Crusher
game should be catered
99.
to those who have faith, who believe,
I-
who are grinding. And I think that's so essential to success.
I really enjoy that you mentioned the part about the khakis. Like that was really crucial to the story. And I'm
Hey,
glad
listen,
you
man,
added
don't.
that.
I wore khakis every day of my life as a kid. Every day to school, khakis and a polo every single day. Every
Oh,
single
you were private school?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that.
Fortunately and unfortunately, yeah, gee, I'm not gonna go there. But yeah,
Well,
Bogur, sorry to interrupt you. You're just
No, there
spot
was
on.
not much to say about it. Like I've already talked about it for a long time, so obviously I want
Yeah.
me to talk. But it's just that is how I feel. Like I want people when they get inspired by Overwatch League and see these amazing players perform at a high level, I want them to want to grind the game, because this is what happened to me. I didn't really watch Overwatch League that much, but whenever I did watch Overwatch League, or whenever I watched professional, like Apex, it was called Apex back in the day, these tournaments, it's not Apex Legends, we had these Apex tournaments, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Now I'm even more inspired to push my limits, and I'm playing the game more, but now there's no reason for me to play the game at a high level, which ultimately defeats a lot of the purpose for me and for a lot of other gamers. Like, you don't get to see these epic moments anymore that often, like, because
Yeah.
the people that are high level, they have no reason to play the game. They just queue up at the beginning of the season, play their 25 games or 50 games, playing Sigma, whatever else, and they just
Yeah.
sit and camp to 4.6 or 4.
I feel like there's someone you really hate who's camping 4x7 on Sigma right now.
There's
Bogur.
them always, in every region except Asia, because Asia plays double bubble, there's at least one Sigma player or like 2 or 3 that just
That
camps
is-
like high, and that's normal, because that's the way you should do it. But it's so infuriating for other players, because
that is
my
ironic.
role,
It's
yeah, because
ironically not a very Sigma male grind set.
yes,
It's
but
ironic.
that is my feel as a main tank player. I cannot. It's okay. Maybe I can, but it's really difficult to get 4.7 compared to getting like
Yeah.
4.7 on the Sigma on the right, or compared to like.
I hear
yes,
I hear you, Bogur. I
Yeah.
hear you. I feel you.
Here's the thing. Like, I'm actually kind of like, I totally agree with you on it, but I think that the key to what you were saying, which is like for beyond just like our like high super rank, is 2 things. One, it's like, to kind of go back a little bit, is like ranked in some form or fashion should start to resemble what high level play or even pro play looks like, right? Like, for example, right, when Valorant has its tournaments, I even watch Valorant sometimes, like not that often, but like those viewerships of those are crazy, right? Because they promote them everywhere, they go hard. They have co-streams, which Overwatch League dropped the fucking ball on way back when on co-streams, because I actually know big names that wanted to co-stream Overwatch League and were told no, because they wanted all the viewership on Overwatch League, because they can farm the ads and the money, and they can go to their investors and be like, look at 100,000 million people watch this broadcast. Now you can give us millions for advertisement. But the big brain idea is to then have a contract with that big streamer, and 20,000 to 100,000 people watch them. 80,000 watch your main broadcast, and you have 3 of those streamers, and all of a sudden, instead of 120,000 on the main broadcast, it's 500,000 total. So like that number is way bigger, but like they never got that connection across. But the big thing is like people enjoy watching that high level play, mostly because like it's a fun experience, you know, whether you like Valorant or whether you're interested or whatever. It's like they make it hype, they make it fun. You watch all these crazy pop-off plays, and if you don't, even if you're a super casual, right, sometimes you watch something, you're like, okay, that was nasty, like what the heck, like, you know, like in your games when you try to play, like you peek stuff and just die, but over time, like there's multiple groups of people. They watch because it's enjoyable, they watch because they're just interested in esports, they watch because they're interested in that game, they watch because they actually pick up a few things. Like I watch Valorant once in a while because I play with my friends, and I was always like terrible, like not because I don't know how to aim or shoot, but because I would get caught like running with my knife and shit, you know what I mean, like stuff that I had no idea what was happening. So sometimes I just watch it once, like if it's on and I'm not streaming and there's nothing else to do, they hype it up, they make it a lot of fun. Or even like some other streamer that I watch, like I know they had a big thing with like Shroud and Pokemon and Myth watched, like co-streamed it with them, and that brought a whole new level of validity to their esport, you know? And there's so many things Overwatch could do with that end. But I kind of want to loop back to your point before of like the high level camping and stuff like that and playing. This kind of links all back together. Is not every player, every gamer wants to hit high rank, you know? But Sam, I believe, is right in what he says, is that ranked is what keeps those games alive. I know all my IRL friends that play like Valorant and stuff, they all play ranked. I hope to God none of them are watching, but they're all fucking terrible. Like, like the highest they hit is like plat, and they play every single day. You know what I mean? But the reason they don't climb, and I've kind of told them this when you know, I'm not like always like coming in like, oh, I'm going to teach you how to climb in a game. You know, if they ask like, oh, like, dude, I can't fucking win this game, my teammates suck, I'm like, well, that's not actually the reason, but like, you know, and like, you know, like I kind of like allude to them why they're, you know, like they're not doing too hot, is because they don't put in the effort to like watch streams, they don't watch like educational content, they just queue endless amounts of ranked games. But that's what they queue. They don't queue unranked, they don't queue casual, they queue ranked because they like watching the numbers go up and down, and you know, and they feel like they're committed. And to take that even further into Overwatch, when I was actually a Siege pro, the way I got professionally into Siege was Siege came out, it was a huge game, you know, on console, we didn't really have anything to play. This was a massive, you know, multi-platform game, and it had a lot of like support behind it. I 5-stacked with my friends when it came out, and we got the highest rank, Diamond. All of it. At first, actually, the first season we didn't technically because the rank system was bugged, and you could win 20 games in a row, and then you would rank up and lose one, and then you derank, and then you had to win like 8 more to get back. It made no sense, but because it was like actually bugged somewhere in the system. But season 2, when they like actually made it like a progression system, we all got the highest rank, and we did that for multiple seasons, like 5-stacking as friends, right? And now there was people obviously that solo queued, but like we typically bumped into other stacks, and like we started playing against like pro teams all the time, right? But I didn't want to solo queue. I didn't really care to solo queue play with randoms. I liked playing with my friends. I liked playing as a team. I liked coordinating. Imagine that same scenario in Overwatch, where you and your friends put in the hours, right? You put in hours every single day, like 8 hours, 6 hours, you know, like especially they're like high school to college level, you know, like you may have a job, some people don't. You have a lot of extra time on your hands, especially, and you're grinding and you're having fun. And then you hit 3,900, and all of a sudden, y'all can't play together anymore. Like, I think Overwatch is the only game that does that, right? Like, was where you can climb with all your friends, and then if you get good, you're punished.
Learning
so
curve.
It's like, yeah, it's such a weird system, you know, because like I've never understood like gaming on a real level is supposed to be fun. You know, there's competitive aspects as well, but it's supposed to be fun. And I've never quite understood why we're in this middle round. And whenever I've talked to people about stacking and stuff like that, they always come back with they don't want to bump into stacks, or they don't have friends of their own to stack with. And I feel for you on that. But why are we always in the mindset of like, okay, like they don't have friends they want to stack with? Okay, that problem I can't really solve too well. Overwatch tried to solve it with LFG, failed immediately. But the problem of facing stacks, that's a problem we can kind of counter. But like we shouldn't shut down stacking because players don't have people that they want to queue with and want to solo queue and play on their own time. That's your right, but that shouldn't be taken away from the people that want to play with their friends because other people can't. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
silly.
I feel it's a very odd thing that Overwatch has
and you
kind
might
of
find
dropped
more
the ball on.
friends too. You might find more friends if you, but it's like being upset you can't make a shot when you're not shooting the ball, almost. And I know that's not true for all circumstances, right?
Mhm.
But I think that's the perfect way to put it, man. Like it's just because it shouldn't be taken away from others, especially the higher up you go, the more team format it should be played. And I'd like to talk a little bit more on the point you made about your friends. Like they might not be climbing, but like they're still committed. And I think there's a deeper point to life to that because I've become a believer in climbing an SR is the finish line. But I think that life is about the journey, not necessarily about the finish line. The means to getting to the end are something that I know that's very deep and like very like vague as well at the same time, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. And it's actually changed my opinion on a lot of things just in the greater world. I think that the means and the journey and the part of the trip itself, whether you make it or whether you don't, as long as you can commit into that and feel rewarded at some degree, as if you're investing your time into the long scope of a ranked game or a job or whatever it may be in life, because life is inherently risky, right? Like we're not getting out alive, right? Like it's just life, like it's finite, you know. So I think that journey is something that we've kind of lost sight of, and like it's the middle ground, really. Like it's the means to the end, and we used to have the right means, whether people made it or not. It felt like it was worth the thing that's most valuable to them, their time, alongside the people that they care about. And I wish to see that rewarded in Overwatch 2 instead of just punished.
Socratito, let's go. Like the deep Samito vibes.
I've been thinking about that a lot recently. I toss and turn in my bed at night as an Overwatch streamer, so it just helps me.
Well, that leads
Do you
nicely
sleep?
though.
Do I sleep? Not really, actually.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
Not really. Not really. Sometimes I need to get up and like look in the mirror and just yell at myself, which actually helps. I just like debate myself in the mirror sometimes. I am weird, so don't be like me.
No,
but
no, it's
whatever.
good to
Weird.
challenge yourself. It's good to challenge yourself.
Yeah.
That leads nicely though into the original question. We've strayed away from it, but it's been a good stray. Samito, the thing that you know is coming that you're looking forward to, and the thing that you hope will come with the beta or with Overwatch 2.
I don't know if you guys just saw that, by the way. I hope I'll message y'all later. But you know, man, I've done a lot of chirping in the last 3 years. I got nothing to say. Let's just watch. I got that much confidence in it. Let's just watch.
Sam's taking the Bruno Mars, Trinidad James. Don't believe me, just
Sam has
watch.
ascended during this podcast.
Yeah, Sam's Zenyatta on this podcast all of a sudden. The man's entered the transcendence. Okay, I like it. I like it. Backing up, Sam's backing up his talk of Reform Samito. He's bringing that next level mentality. So now it's time for the devs. So
We'll see.
that brings which
Did we get
leads nicely-
Bogers?
Bogur already gave
Bogur
it.
had his Boger's was
Oh,
about.
gave it.
Bogur, here's
were
what
on
we
that
need.
for so long, I forgot.
I need a Winston emote. I need a Winston emote right now. Come on, give me a primal rage
Winston
chest bump.
emote.
Yeah, come
real
on,
life
give it to
IRL emote.
me.
The mic cutout makes it for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I like it. It's like when yours did as well. It's like it kind of speaks the volumes and it needs to.
Yes.
That's gonna bring me to what I was gonna say anyways, which is mine is a bit of a cheat because it's 2-in-1. The devs have said they're gonna change, and I hope they're gonna change. Like that's what I see. Like they've said they're gonna communicate more. They said they're gonna listen. They know they messed up, and that's great to hear. I hope they follow up on that, and I think if they do, we pop in. I think if they do, we're gonna destroy the competition. I was doing a Samito the other day on my stream, in fact, just yesterday, where I was looking at Google Trends, and I was just like, well, you know, how is Overwatch doing versus Valorant and and Apex? Overwatch shitting on these guys at its peak, like even Apex's peak, Valorant's peak.
Incredible.
Overwatch is far better.
Overwatch created the biggest streamers today. Like a lot of them.
It
like
did.
a
It
lot
did.
of
Tim,
them. It
XQC.
really did. It
Like,
shaped
A lot of them
shaped
played it.
gaming and streaming in a way that no other game has.
Overwatch was the last game of the previous generation because to talk about what you're talking about with co-streaming as well, Flats. I'm sorry to just keep this going for 1 second. Fortnite changed the world with their business model. They showed how valuable it was to have consumers in your door. And in this modern era, there are more ways to monetize that, as well as keep the overall volume of traffic in your product across the board. And you didn't just see this change in gaming; it changed many, many other platforms. So I think that once Overwatch, like I'm not even gonna talk about this right now. No. This is a topic for another podcast where I've not finished this doc yet, SVB, but I'm sending something your way soon. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure, man. There's always oceans more to explore, even in the shallow depths of
So much
content that
fun.
we've had.
The journey. It's just
The
there's
journey.
so much to think about. It's just so much fun. All right.
But it has been, yeah, I mean, I just gonna reiterate, I hope we see a new style of kind of approach to this game, of listening, of communicating, being open. I hope we as a community have to do our part as well, because I know sometimes we get a bit, madge, and we get quite angry, but I hope we kind of allow the devs to feel comfortable being honest with us, because that when they acknowledge their mistakes, we should also be like, thank you for doing that, and not just beat them and berate them for no reason, right? We're mad,
100%.
but we got to give them the chance to change. So
Credit
on
where
that
it's due.
note, exactly, credit where it's due. And on that note, I look forward, guys. Overwatch 2 closed beta in a month. What world are we living in? This is an incredible.
Is this? Hold on. I'm awake.
No, still here.
Let's go.
Still here.
Still here.
It is.
All right,
it is
guys.
crazy. So,
Music devs currently in these streams, get me into the beta, or I will fucking snipe you in ranked and in all of your games.
Boger's gonna primal rage leap across the ocean and be at Blizz HQ in a couple days.
I will. I will be
Did you see this, man?
furious. I will be furious.
exactly.
I think
All right,
you'll
guys.
think
Get
it's
us
fine.
all
I
in.
don't-
Get us all in. Get as many people as we can. Let's play this game. Let's have fun. And on that note, thank you so much for your time, Flat, Samito, Bogur, as always. Guys, thank you so much. Much love. I really, shout out to you guys. You the homies,
Great
the
time
real
as always,
ones.
man. Best
Peace
host I've ever seen, man. You got the right
God
thought
bless.
process. Built
God
diff in the brain, SVB. Your
Yeah,
brain's really wrinkled.
we got a month. We got like real talk. We got like a month and a half to kill. Like we're gonna need more customs. Just throwing that out there. Like,
Yeah, Axe. I'm so down. Listen,
it's gonna be
just don't
ass for
play.
a while. Like
just
like
don't put Jay on my
waiting
team. I
mode,
wanna
but
win.
it's still gonna suck till we get there. Like
Listen,
in 2 weeks from now, we're gonna be like, oh fuck. Like,
no, I'm serious though. The Among Us Overwatch game where like I'm watching like Jay on Ana and Flats like let me just beam him as Diva from the other POV. Like I could just hear the screaming on the other team, and it was just fucking hilarious.
just played
Like
Jay,
that
and
actually,
everybody just took the bait.
It was incredible. The J
All right, guys.
into Flats, into Samito. It was great.
Hey, check
All right,
Discord after
guys.
this, by the way. See y'all.
Sure,
Alrighty.
sure.
Peace.
We're gonna connect again. Peace out, guys. I'll be back with this stream in a quick intermission. We'll BRB. Thanks, guys.